open the Buckingham Township Board of Supervisors meeting for April 24th, 2024. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, welcome everybody. Okay. Oh, by the way, Dana, do we have people that have professionals not here at this time? No, there's nobody. Okay. Okay. So Maggie, I am going, since we're going to start with public comment, I'm going to, go ahead. I'm going to give you the floor.
These announcements first before
Sure. You want to make them?
Sure. Okay, I'm going to, before we do public comment, I'm just going to make the announcements because then everybody will be here and they'll know about it. There's Medication Take Back Day, Saturday, April 27th. That's this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2. But know that you can always go into down to the police station because in their lobby is a receptacle for any kind of medication that you want to get rid of and not throw into the streams or your toilet. Let's see what else. Spring cleanup weekend will be May 4th and 5th with free shredding for residents on Saturday only from 9 to 12. Our Environmental Action Committee already done a lot of talking about us that tonight. I'm the liaison, so I'm very partial. Plant sale. Native plant sale. This is the third year they've done it. It's at Hansel Park, and what's different this year is no pre-orders. In the years past, we had pre-orders. This year, first come, first served, and it's Jim. It's 6 plants, six small plants, all native, and check or cash, no credit cards. So Hansel Park, and it sells out pretty quick. Photo contest for our 325th year anniversary in 2025. We're planning lots of fun activities for residents. We have a photo contest that everyone's invited to participate and take pictures of our quote-unquote Buckingham. And info is on the website. And actually, I think I got a Buckingham blast about it, didn't I? Yeah. Our annual concert series will start on Thursday, June 20th, Hansel Park, 7 to 9. I don't know if any of you have attended, but it's fun and great music. Blood drive, June 25th. We'll host a blood drive at the Township building from 2 to 7. Go to redcross.com for details and to sign up. Wow, we're really going ahead here. Yeah. Day in the park. Thursday, June 27th from 11 a.m. to 2. I call it hot dog day. And police night out, also a great night, August 6th at Peddler's Village. Watch for details. That's also wonderful also. Just go to our website, www.buckinghampa.org, or on the Park and Rec Facebook page for updates on all this fun stuff. I think that's it.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to organize public comment, and before we start, I will just say that we're one of the few townships in the county, including the school district, that you don't have to sign up or to make a public comment, because we really like it to be a little more conversational. So with that in mind, if you're offering your question has been asked and answered a couple of times, think about not asking for, unless you have something a little bit different twist on it, okay? And with that in mind, we're always up to hear from everybody, and lady in the green shirt first. You have to give your name and address.
Here's the microphone.
Yes, and we learned our lesson. You need to walk up to the microphone.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My name is Ann Woods Kettleberger, and I live at 5648 Quail Drive. I'm here tonight because of the spray fields, and I was here the night you did the informational session on the solar panels and the clean energy. And I thought that was so informative and good. And I know a lot of us, whether we are whether we're for or against the spray fields, have a lot of questions. And I was wondering if you could do the same thing one night with the spray fields, how you had the experts with the solar panels and the clean energy. You had experts and people from other counties that came, talked about their experiences, talked about how they made the field, made the field for the solar panels, and also the business side of it. It was all very interesting and informative. I'm wondering if you can do the same for the spray fields sometime.
Yes, and we actually did do it already. We had 2 water seminars on water. The first on private wells and public water, which encompassed spray fields, and we absolutely have been talking about doing it again and recording it so that we can put that on our website. Yeah. Do you have any questions about it, though?
I just figured if you were going to do that, it would be a better time to ask questions.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Lady in the brown sweater.
Hi, how are you?
Oh,
sorry.
And I'm not colorblind.
So good evening, neighbors, friends, and supervisors. My name is Linda Flammer.
Linda, microphone, and it has to be sort of towards your mouth so people in the back can hear you.
Okay, how is that?
Yes.
How's this? How's this? Is it on?
Speak into the big mic.
Okay, so my name is Linda Flammer, and my address is 5805 Mechanicsville Road. I'm just south of Street Road. So the meeting minutes from the February Supervisors meeting confirmed that the tax parcel 06006051, comprising 46 acres, was condemned and taken by eminent domain, and is now going to be used as a spray field, is the proposal for the chemically treated sewage. This decision has upset many of your constituents, myself included, and there's several reasons for that. Although the treatment of wastewater is a necessity, we understand that, the proposed location for the spray field is adjacent to many family homes. 2 in particular are going to be impacted on all 3 sides of their home. The location is best situated away from people's well water supply and from their outdoor living spaces. We understand that there are a number of spray fields in Buckingham already and have been here since 1988. There has been significant science since 1988 regarding the health fullness or lack of from spray fields. So they are not innocuous. There is significant scientific evidence that there are forever chemicals that are placed into the ground. That's what happened at the Johnsville Naval Air Station that we're all very familiar with. The government was very clear in saying that there was no problem. It was completely safe. The EPA said that. All of the township officials said that. So we're not really clear because of your lack of transparency. The development plan was not listed on the website to inform neighbors until today, this evening, as we were arriving for this meeting, there was an article that was published.
And that's not a development plan. That is to stop the spread of misinformation. Johnsville was from firefighting foam.
Correct.
And as you know, these spray fields are used for residential use. There's no industrial water going into these spray fields.
The spray fields are used for agricultural. They're used for residential and industrial. So in this case, it's just residential.
Not here, it's for
Yes.
agricultural residential.
Yes, and the PFAS, the forever chemicals, are part of what gets into the groundwater from residential use. That comes from the medications that people take, that they excrete. It comes from the products that they use that end up in the waste streams. So what we're proposing to remedy the situation, as my neighbor ahead of me proposed, we would like to have experts review the scientific data from 1988 onward and look at the impact on human and ecological health. The experts should be vetted not just by the supervisors, but also by some groups of residents. There should be a joint collaboration here. Secondly, the development plan should be transparent and include members of your community, your constituents, your voters in that plan. And so we would like to add this to the agenda for May. We all love Buckingham, and we don't want to see a black eye on this community similar to the snafu that happened at the Johnsville Naval Air Station.
There are apples and oranges. You have to stop saying that because people are going to believe it when you say that. Johnsville is is by the U.S. government, so it's totally different regulations. We're regulated by the state. We're regulated heavily. So.
And there's also the new EPA guidelines. Correct. For the levels of the PFAS.
And we deal with those every day. Gary is the engineer that deals with that.
Well, I want to make sure that we preserve the beauty of Buckingham.
Okay. Jim, you're from the Conservation District. Would you like to... I'm sorry, that's right.
So my name's Jim Walter. I live at 1492 Sugar Bottom Road in Furlong. Just to introduce myself to everybody, I am the co-chair of the county or the Township Environmental Advisory Committee. I'm an engineer, and I'm also a Penn State trained master watershed steward. Spray fields are very, very important to ecological handling of wastewater. They are probably the best way of dealing with wastewater. When you flush a toilet, run a garbage disposal, run a dishwasher or whatever, all that water's got to go somewhere. And it goes through a series of processes that clean up that water. Goes through filtration to take out all the stuff that gets dumped in there accidentally. Goes through an anaerobic digestion, goes through an aerobic digestion, goes through a disinfection to take out the bacteria that break down the biological materials that are in that water. Then it goes through another filtration. And then you've got two options on what you can do with the water. You can either dump it into a stream, which is what most of the townships do, or you can spray it out on a spray field. Putting it on a spray field has a lot of advantages to it because this water is basically a dilute fertilizer solution at this point. It's got nitrogen, it's got potassium, it's got phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, a little bit of iron. It's great for growing plants. You spray it on a spray field, the plants take up these nutrients. And the microbes that are in the soil, the bacteria and the fungi there, help degrade whatever materials are left over. So these plants are doing a lot for us. Not only are they processing this waste for us, but they are also trapping nitrogen, or trapping carbon. They are carbon sinks. They help deal with climate change.
Good question, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but how does that intervene in how it's...
Wait.
Let's say, and my pets drink that out of their bowl because we're in the wind plume that comes across when the plants have not had the chance to digest that yet.
Okay, if I could finish, I'll get to that at the end. Okay. So the other advantage of the spray field is that this is basically a great big sponge. When rainfall falls on this, the rainfall is collected by that field, so it doesn't run off into our streams and our other areas and flood roads and things like that. The other big advantage of having a spray field is it's really a biological nature center. I mean, all those insects, birds, small mammals get to live in that area and provide to the environment and the ecological recycling of material. But the third and the most important reason for a spray field is that as this water is sprayed onto this field, it percolates down through the ground and it recharges our aquifer. And aquifer is incredibly important to Buckingham because everybody in this room drinks water that comes from the aquifer. If we don't recharge that aquifer and it goes dry, we got big problems. So by treating this material with spray fields, it does a very effective job of helping the environment and controlling this waste. We're actually being really good neighbors. Instead of dumping our waste into the streams so that the next community downstream has got to deal with it, we're taking care of it here at home. Okay? So the water that comes out of these series of processes is near drinking water.
Absolutely not. It is not.
Yes, it is.
Hold on a second.
It's near drinking water.
Wait, Jim, wait. You have his name?
Because
Please, can we just respect each other?
it's
If you're asking a question, just let him finish.
All right,
I'm trying to answer your question. The material that comes out of this,
Yeah, give your name to Lori. To MJ. Your name and address.
after this water has gone through anaerobic digestion, aerobic digestion, disinfection, and then filtration, you've degraded essentially all the biological materials in there down to its base roots. So what you've got is nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, some very small molecules. People dump this into our streams. Okay? Yes, they do. Absolutely. They do. They do dump it into our streams. And
Jim.
Sir, if you want to keep talking, give your name to Mary Jane and your address.
My name is Mr. E. I have 4 young children, and I am not disclosing that information to you.
Okay. Well,
You're not, this is your name? Okay, got it.
thank you.
By the government or township at all.
What's
Is
that?
this an inquisition? Are you kidding me?
It's a fair question.
No, he's
No,
a
he's a
resident
volunteer.
just like you that pays taxes in Buckingham. Lady in the orange sweater?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Vera Shelton. I live at 3240 Street Road in Buckingham. I'm like maybe a stone's throw away from the spray field. I'm sure there's a lot of people here tonight that feel that the board, you guys, have not been transparent with us. Do you feel that you've been transparent with us, Maggie? Because right before I left the house tonight, I got that email to squelch all the rumors that were going around. Why am I just hearing about this spray field?
Why did you just get the?
Yeah, no, not even the email that you guys sent out while you were already here and while we were driving.
Posted tonight.
Yeah.
We've been
No, that's
working on
fine.
it.
I'm asking, why are we just finding out
We
about a
just
spray
got-
field?
Yeah, we just got the nasty letter last
I'm not
week.
asking about that,
Yeah,
sir.
hold on,
I'm
hold
asking
on.
from you
Wait,
guys
yeah.
why we did not previously, before your nasty gram letter that you're talking about,
Yeah, you're
hear
fine.
about a spray field. I think that's why we're all standing here frustrated and angry and emotional about it. So I think it's the last meeting I read the minutes, there were 3 lines. You guys all voted on resolution 2622, whatever. There was 5 of you here. There should have been 8 of you, correct?
No,
No?
there's
It was
3 of us.
whatever it is, yeah.
That's it.
5 people voted, right? It was unanimous.
No.
2?
No.
2
Paul and
out
I
of
were at the
5?
meeting. John wasn't here.
I was in Spain.
We have 3 supervisors.
There's 3.
Okay.
Wait,
So
let's
I'm just
finish.
saying, like, you have to take a little bit of grain of salt tonight because we're all a little hot and frustrated. I am one of those property owners that will be affected by the price of the value of my home. So I would like just an explanation of why we're all just finding out about this.
Well, I guess when, go ahead.
I think the one thing is that Buckingham Township, as you read in your thing, because has been doing spray field irrigation since 1988. We've been developing that. We did put up our, the map showing the spray fields. We have 450 acres in spray fields. We've been doing this. It's been coming in with each development. We've been increasing them. We've been doing that. And it's been part of our process, and it's been things that are just talked about at meetings. We've had
So
education,
I
we've
read the
had
last 6
management
months.
tours, we've had all different things.
So I've read the last
So-
6 months and nowhere in there do you guys talk about acquiring another spray field in Buckingham.
We just approved the McKee subdivision, which has spray fields in it. And that was
Yeah.
a large part of the discussion.
So a lot of times they're coming in as developments, and it is part of, regular discussions for any developments and everything in that. This particular spray field came up. This spray field's actually adjacent to an existing spray field, the Stony Mead Community Spray Field. So it's not, this isn't something that's hidden or anything like that. But I started getting some emails showing some posts, so having some misinformation, having some things saying, we're putting sludge out, we're doing things that we've never done. I had employees get approached at church being told that they heard we're putting a toxic waste facility and everything like that. So when I started hearing those things, we all said, with the engineer and our staff, we got to get something out. In 25 years, I've never had anyone ever, make these claims that a spray field of treated wastewater isn't the best treatment for wastewater. I mean, we are normally highlighted for what we do in protecting the environment. So yes, we were trying to get that out. And you know what? We couldn't get it out because we've been working 2 days to try to respond to all the rumors. So I'm glad you're all here. And I think, we already did the things with EAC and with our engineers on the water. And we mentioned the spray fields in some of our water things. And I think having a discussion on spray fields would be great and a learning thing. But this is something that we have done throughout the township for many, many years. And all sorts of spray fields have been discussed as they've come in developments. And this is just a new spray field. And of course, you live near it and you have questions, and that's great, and we should answer them and have the discussion. But there's nothing hidden and there's nothing that. This is just something that we're doing.
I'm just saying, I'm sure a majority of people in here feel like they were like sideswiped, and that's why I think your room was filled tonight.
And I think it's because we were just responding to things that we had never even seen before. Like the couple emails that we've gotten that we were like, oh my gosh, we have to correct this information because people think there's toxic waste being out there.
Well, maybe if it was transparent.
We talk about
Right, but maybe if it was transparent with the community prior to it being put out there that we're installing a spray field.
It started out in October as preserving that property. That's how it started out. It was a developer's property. He purchased it from Georgie Coles.
Oh, I know. We all read about it.
You know all that. So what happened was he came in, wanted to see how many lots you could put on. We saw if we could preserve it. We went back and forth. We did appraisals on it. He kept changing the numbers around. And in the end, he got more than what he advertised the property for. And so we're not going to have 8 more houses over there. We're not going to have to find more additional spray fields for more houses. Now we have a spray field that we have a reserve spray fields. When other spray fields have to be taken offline, we have property for one.
And
okay.
the other thing
I would like to
there's
pause
no
for me.
plan.
I would like to
There's
pause
no
for me.
plan.
There's no
Yeah.
Like-
So, well, that's not apparent to all of us. So as long as that's fine. But it's 5 to 8, and you guys started public comment at 7:36. So I want to give somebody else a chance. So I'd like to sit down, and so that they can other.
In answer to your question, we've been doing this for 20 years that I've been here, and if a development comes in or we need more spray fields, it's never been an issue.
It's been praised.
And
It's not really
so anyway,
So,
the guy.
It's not even an election yet.
Wait, I want to say
You're
something.
still making
Just to preface my neighbors who live by the spray field, I have 4 kids. One of them has a compromised immune system because she's got disabilities, and we've lived right next to a spray field. I've been over 25 years. All my kids were born and raised right by a spray field. No issue. And I'm not scared of it because I know the
Most
information.
neighborhoods are.
Okay, lady in the green sweater. You? Yeah, please.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Carol Schramm. I'm at 553.
Yeah.
Carol Schramm. I'm at 5530 Carversville Road. My husband and I chose to move here. I've moved 14 times. We chose to move here and retire. It's beautiful here. It's historic. I don't understand meta-wise why you would choose land that is near one of the most historic homes in Buckingham to put this kind of eyesore. Like Indian Spring Farm, 1691. Like, why would you put that there? when I see other land around here, if you're eminent domaining it, taking control of it, is that what you want for Bucks County?
Is Indian Spring Farm the Stony
One
Mead?
with the apartment?
No, it's up on, it's right across the street.
So
And
I
sold-
don't
and sold it?
understand from such a beautiful county that you don't consider how you affect these historic properties. I bought a historic property. I don't let anybody put chemicals on my land. Nothing. So I just don't understand the placement.
There won't be chemicals being put on the
No, I'm saying
I'm saying
I'm
that-
organic on my
and-
farm.
and we
I-
agree
and
with
I'm
you.
not saying they're chemicals. I'm just
Okay.
saying as far as the placement goes, why that place
There's not a lot of
when there
places.
there are
There's not a lot
other
of places
places.
for
If you're taking control of somebody's land, like just eminent domaining, going,
No, we
No,
paid-
wait,
we
take
paid-
it.
We paid more than asking
We
price for it.
took a parcel and paid for it because it was for sale.
And it was gonna be
We
home.
did not just say, oh, we want that piece of land
Correct.
and screw the owner. Yeah, that was listed on the market and that's
And he
what
got
the
more
one
than what he was
thing
listing for.
And there, you have spray fields at the other end of Carville Road. Carville
I know,
Road.
which is why I
Yeah.
think how sad it is at that intersection with that beautiful stone house there, the beautiful stone house there. There, it's
But
just,
as opposed
I
to
don't get
homes-
it.
As opposed to homes?
Have you ever?
I would. What about if you're off of 202? There's land. There's the land that couldn't get sold with the mini horses. I mean, there's
It has to
land
post-
around.
It has
No,
to
but
post.
no,
Okay.
it's also has to be net. First of all, being adjacent to the Stony Mead system and being in the Cold Spring area, that spray field needs to be in that northern area. You can't do a spray field down here and
Pump it up there.
pump it all the way up to there. And I mean, we have spray fields all in that area. Small ones. I mean, you have the larger one, Lejeski, right across from Cold Spring Elementary that everyone sees with that.
Which
And
is farmed up.
and we have Durstein, Stony. I mean, there are quite a few spray fields in that area, and for the most part, yeah, you see some land, and it's being farmed in hay. So
Or sunflower.
Kind of,
Well,
but it is
the other
an
thing-
eyesore on the
Yeah.
corner that I live near. It is kind of an eyesore.
We take your point.
Anyway,
And thank you, and the other option for that property, 45.8 acres, it could be 5 to 7 McMansions on there. So that, and I'm not
And
being
more space.
snarky, I'm just saying that that's another
And more
alternative.
space.
So anything else, there's a lady here.
so you guys would have to
But
approve that, right?
understand that even if you have homes, you then still have to do something with the wastewater. So if you say we don't like spray fields, we don't want spray fields, you're then talking about a treatment plant. You're talking about stream discharge. You're talking about you have to get rid of the wastewater somehow, and this is the most environmentally sound and ability to keep that land open instead of putting a packaged treatment plant.
This lady is waiting
Who's
to
that?
speak.
These are
Can you give your name, please,
Me.
and address?
Yes. Good.
My name is Donna Gervosi de Fulvio. I live at 3069 Ursula's Way. We also just heard about the spray field, and I just had a couple of questions and a couple of thoughts I wanted to mention. When we first moved to Buckingham Township in 2008, we knew that the house had a private well and septic field, and we didn't have access to public water. I did call the township at the time and spoke to Graham Orton, who was the water director then. He was incredibly nice, as everybody has been when I call. Just to ask, because we were nervous. We had never lived in a place with a private well, and we knew that that was our only source of water, and we wanted to educate ourselves before buying the house, having the water tested. We asked him if there was ever an opportunity in the future that there would be public water coming to our neighborhood, and he said no. He said the cost would be prohibitive, all the mileage to do any kind of a plumbing, and he said, so it's really your well is your source of water. So we understood that, and we knew that we were responsible for that and our septic. because of that, we've been very proactive with, having our water tested, maintaining our septic, our well, and everything like that. We are careful about what we do put on the ground. I am well aware that it is much more beneficial to have open land than, and I wasn't sure looking at the zoning map, I think is it A2 or A1? Like, it's not commercial.
AG2.
AG.
It's AG.
So it's not,
Agricultural.
there's no commercial zoning there. It would have to be residential or agriculture.
Are you talking about the spray field that was just purchased?
Yes.
Yes, that's that.
Okay, that's what I thought. So concerns that we have are, the wells that you were talking about, the test wells that you were talking about having there, like how deep would they be drilled? In other words, we're wondering, and this may be more esoteric, but comparing to our wells, like to get an idea on, what might show up. We know that there's three farms already, like on that area, and they're not required to disclose what they spray or apply, which we know also legally. So we're careful about testing, but we understandably, I think, as a neighborhood have concerns because we don't know what to look for. Like when I even asked, Penn State and the water testing labs, like, well, if we're looking for pesticides, fertilizers, things like that, they said there's too many to test for and each test is very expensive. So it's hard to tell you as a homeowner what to really test for in your water. I think that's really a lot of concerns that some people have tonight because we feel very vulnerable. We only have a well. We'll never have, access to public water. We have to maintain our septics, which are also very expensive. If we have to start getting involved with purchasing reverse osmosis systems or different types of filters, they cost a lot more money, and we're also pumping a lot more water into our septics just to purify our drinking water. I think that these are genuine concerns people have. And when I looked on the website, like walking, and I am somewhat familiar with the water department information, there's not a lot of easy access to information for consumers to read through and really educate themselves on that. So like when I try to find out this information, I don't see it anywhere. And I think that really leads to a lot of suspicion and concern.
But
And-
the whole article about spray fields that's been on there since the
But
80s.
it's not.
I did see that.
But we have been actually working to add more. We're in the process of
And that's great.
to adding more
Gary,
articles.
But
why-
I
But
just,
Gary can answer your
oh
question.
no, I
think,
had a
about
couple of other quick things. I don't want to take too much time, but part of the issue I think is, where we live, we don't have public water or public sewers. So spray fields were probably never a concern for anyone because right now we're getting the sewer water from other neighborhoods now in our neighborhood. So in other words, the public water, where that's coming from somewhere else in Buckingham, it's not coming from our neighborhoods.
Do you have public? you have
No,
public-
we don't have public water. I'm talking about the sewers, the
It's coming-
septic. We have a
It's
septic.
coming from Buckingham, though. We're responsible for all of Buckingham.
Oh no, we understand.
Gary's the
But
water and
also
sewer
remember
engineer, so
just-
he can talk to you about the isolation of your wells and that. And
Oh,
test.
no, that I totally understand. I'm just saying that for our neighborhood, this is brand new because we haven't had this in our
Right.
neighborhood
Mhm.
before. And I think it's understandable that we have concerns. And I just wanted to mention briefly, I think residents would like, and everybody feels differently, but they'd like to have more information about the testing if there's concerns about airborne viruses, from spraying. Will any treatment of farm animals or industrial wastewater be in there? Although I think you answered some of that
Yeah.
before.
It's residential work.
Okay. And then, are fields going to be allowed to dry regularly to prevent anaerobic, conditions from developing? Like, we have
Gary
more.
can answer all these
Answer
questions.
Okay.
just a couple of quick questions for you.
I'll answer a couple. The monitoring wells that we surround these.
Gary?
Yeah.
Yes,
stand up.
okay. And this is our water and wastewater engineer.
He was here early.
Quick question on the monitoring wells. We surround the spray fields with monitoring wells. They only penetrate down to the top of the groundwater. So they might go down 40 feet. All
Okay.
we want to do is sample the top of the groundwater. Our actual discharge criteria is meeting drinking water standards at the groundwater.
And that is current EPA
That's
drinking
current
waters?
EPA. We sample each of those monitoring wells. We do not a comprehensive one every quarter. At the end of the year, we do a comprehensive, basically just as what we do when we permit a new well. So we go through all the constituents of whatever. The township has a hydrogeologist who reviews all that information and we're required by the state every year to submit a hydrogeological plan for that. And every 5 years, we submit a complete hydrogeological plan with everything in it. We monitor for the mounding, which is the amount of water that comes up. So we want to make sure that we have our 4 feet of filtration, basically, which is the ground. Basically.
Okay.
Your other question was?
The information from the testing, is that available on the website for each spray field for residents to see what the water analysis has been like?
We don't post all of that information. We can certainly, if people have,
It's never been.
questions on that, it is available.
It's around probably about 10 or 15 pages worth of sampling that we do.
Okay.
Comprehensive ones. The quarterly ones is probably about 2 or 3 pages.
And would township residents have access to seeing those reports?
Right to know.
This is through benchmark
certainly
analytics?
Have that. We have some specific locations of things that we do not give out. We could work something out to make sure you're at a comfort level, but while also making sure that our systems are staying safe.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's not good, and EPA wouldn't even allow us to start giving out like the exact location of our monitoring well or that kind of thing. But it
Oh, no, I just
we
meant like
certainly do.
that field.
Of course.
Someone would contaminate.
Now know
Right.
too that this field, because it was just purchased, like we haven't done it is purchased for
Sure.
a spray field.
Nothing's been done
The
yet.
design hasn't been done, anything. All of that, even the design once it gets started, all gets permitted through the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, like all of that. It's a process.
And what's your estimate
there's
on the
nothing
timing of that, like before it would be operational?
Normally takes us to permit a spray field like this about 1.5 years.
Okay.
So
yeah.
we're going to go out and do soil sampling, just to take a look at all the soil sampling, see what the perks are. Right now it's considered well-drained soils, but we need to get an infiltration rate going through it. We only spray about 2.5 inches of this well-drained soil a week. We're trying to put down about 1/2 inch per day. And it comes out to, we might be spraying in the summertime about 8 hours, in the spring and fall less. What we're trying to do is make sure that we're not applying too much on there so too much nitrogen goes in.
Okay.
We've looked at, and when you're talking about the drying cycles, we work with Larry Hepner, who was the Dean of Agriculture over at Del Valle. He is our soil, what do we call it?
He's agronomist.
He goes out every year, does soil sampling, and we've actually worked out a program because we were concerned about that. And we are on the forefront of soil irrigation.
Okay.
And we went through with DEP and said, look, we're looking at how the soil dries. We're looking at how we can irrigate. We're looking at making sure that we don't have those kind of conditions. So we worked out a program with DEP about that. And that's how we now do our spraying.
Okay.
We follow that program that we worked up with DEP on that. And like I said, Larry comes out just to check the soils and that kind of stuff. And he also writes every year we do a crop management plan. So he's looking at how much nitrogen we're pulling off with our crops, how much we're actually applying, just to make sure that we have that balance there, so we're not putting too much stuff down. So what we're trying to do is get away from, and that farm probably had, fertilizers put on it.
Sure, there was a tree farm and.
Do not put fertilizer on anything.
Okay.
In fact, what we started with the Lejeski one, which is on 413 and Cartersville and Cold Spring, where it intersects there. That's one of our main spray fields there. When we first got the spray fields, it was farmed as a truck farm. The monitoring wells had nitrogen up to 27 milligrams per liter, way above drinking water level. So all the wells around that thing, just from the farming, had high nitrogen. We've actually brought those nitrogen levels down below. I think our highest one is like 7. Our nitrogen and nitrites are all below drinking water levels when we spray. So
Okay.
what we try to do is we're trying to clean up the groundwater too, and that's a lot of this why we're spraying. We're trying to make sure that the water is stayed in Buckingham Township, not that we're exporting it out.
Sure.
To Buckingham, so everyone has adequate water. And there has been down in Oxford, the borough of Oxford, their public water wells were in their spray fields. So they were pulling water from their spray fields. All of our public water is away from our spray fields, and most of the wells in the areas that we are away from our spray fields. We have a separation distance that the state requires us to do, and a lot of times we exceed those greatly. So we look at where your well is, and we will adjust the spray field so we're not impacting your wells.
Okay.
So we're trying to stay away from trying to do some of that pollution.
And Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, and ma'am, I just want to address, you're saying, which I totally get, that's why I want to address
Sure.
it, stuff from some other areas in Buckingham coming in. Is it true that when water goes into the ground from a spray field, it's actually better than a septic system going into the ground?
And when you look at a septic system,
Or sand man.
Or sand mound, you're
Right.
about 60% of the solids stay in your septic tank.
Sure.
And the rest go to your sand mound, which then go down into the groundwater.
Right.
And I would wonder, and we had that discussion when we had the well water one, is how many people actually sample their wells to see what their well's nitrogen level is right now,
Right.
compared to what their sand mound is actually doing, or their tile fields. Just to see exactly what their water is that they're drinking right now.
We had our water company was out today just to do like some repair work on machinery and testing. It just was fortuitous that it was today, and we were asking questions. So I think for me as a homeowner, my husband and I, just having more information available to see that we can see what you're testing for, in terms of wells, like what is screened out of the water before it gets to the spray field, just things like that, because we're vulnerable having only our wells.
DEP makes us every month, we do sampling of all of our effluent before it goes out.
Sure.
And we have standards that we have to meet.
Right.
So we meet, and I'm not going to say exceed, but we meet or are better than
Right.
our actual discharge permits. I think in the probably 20, 30 years that we've done it, we've only had an exceeds maybe once or twice. And a lot of that is because some of the lagoon technology that we use, which is a completely natural process. I mean, we add no chemicals into the lagoons at all. We have a detention time for our lagoons of 120 to 210 days. 120 is when we're at low water level, 210 is when we're at high water level. A typical treatment plant, 18 hours, it's in and out. So we have that nice buffer that we can take the surges and the different type of things coming into the lagoons that some people, if you have a high BOD coming in, the treatment plants really can't handle that. While the lagoon at detention time can handle that. We're looking at our mass balance. We're looking at. I'll just look at Frome, for example. We have probably over 40 million gallons sitting out there that we let the water flow through. So it's a natural process. We have aerators on top of it just to provide aeration into the lagoons to aid in biological. So what we're trying to do is a most natural and a most beneficial thing that we have. And Buckingham has been praised for what we do. I mean,
I'm not debating that. I'm saying that for our neighborhood, this is the first time we're hearing about it because we've never had any public water or public sewer. Right. So that's, for many people, it was a shock. But I want to thank you for your time and for.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, good.
Thank you so much.
Gentlemen, right here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Goldhaber. I live at 5548 Indian Ridge Road. I lived in Newtown first for about 7 years. I'm here 4.5 years. I don't get any road work done on Indian Ridge Road because it's a private road for 5 houses. But Indian Spring Road is horrendous. I've spoken to Richie, who's your zoning supervisor, whatever his title is.
And, keep up in the,
Rich Myers.
Rich, okay. Yeah. And he said to me, I asked him about the roads, and it's horrendous. I mean, potholes, it's the edges, everything's just falling apart. And for 2 years, we look at our orange cones on the corner of Mechanicsville and Indian Ridge because the pipe there that takes the water, when it rains, constantly collapses. And he said that whoever takes care of the roads here, whoever's in charge of Buckingham, goes around, looks around, and takes care of things on an as-needed basis. Every so often, I see a couple of you guys in the truck. They take 2 shovels full of hot asphalt and throw it in these holes. But you go from on Indian Springs Road from Mechanicsville to Long Lane, it's horrendous. There are a lot of houses there. We all pay high taxes, and it's a miserable road.
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
So, only to tell you that we had a road improvement bid tonight that's getting approved, and one of the alternates is to pave Indian Spring Road. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Then you made my night.
That's fine.
Because what Richie said to me, he says he knows this one. Thank you.
Just to answer.
Now I will tell you, we have it as an alternate, and
an
this is why, because there are some people on Bittersweet Lane that are trying to connect to Stony Mead, and they would have to cross Indian Spring. So we're we're working with them on timing. So we have it in an alternate. If for some reason they're going to go later, we may put it off till next year because I'm not as popular now. Just because we don't want them to, we don't want the road to get ripped off afterwards. But we do have it in our bid.
So if not soon, it'll be within a year.
Correct. It's on the list.
So the roads are we have about 130 miles worth of township roads. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we do roads usually between 8 and 10 years. That's the whole schedule. And like Dana was saying, there's some people there that have septic problems. They're trying to tie in to the western.
The Stony Mead.
And so it's been going on for 2 or 3 years now. And one of these days, they're going to be allowed to tie in, and then they're going to have to put a pipe across the road. That's why it's listed.
Right. So we have it as an alternate.
So you made my night. Last, just quick, 1 minute question. On the property that you just got from McCardle, what happens to the 14 acres that were part of that parcel before, when he had it up for sale and he sold it and then it fell through? Then he listed it as 46 acres. So there's 14 additional acres. And what's going on with that?
The 14 acres are a separate parcel.
Okay.
And isn't it preserved?
And the 14 acres is a preserved parcel that was done with an original development.
Oh.
So by this 45.8 acres being purchased, Mr. McCardle was trying to move some of this land over to that so he could build houses over there.
Okay.
Because this is all purchased, that land stays preserved. He won't be able to build a house over there.
Okay.
It's the open space for
Indian Walk.
Indian Walk.
The little cul-de-sac.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, thank you. You
And
made
so-
my night. You gave me 2 good answers.
So can I just say one thing? And this is for anybody. If there's something on the road that you feel is a little bit more dangerous because it just happened or we don't know about it, please call us and let us know.
Well, you have the
Yeah,
two.
we
Yeah.
did.
The
And
two-
it's on-
Those 2
I'm
orange
saying
cones,
anybody.
but they need to be landmarked
Yeah.
by now. It's 2 years that those cones are there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Late young woman.
We still
They're
have the
waiting
bone
for her.
person's been waiting.
Oh, who?
I,
Oh.
you know what? I'm trying to pull that microphone
I'm-
down. I'm short
She's
myself.
still there. I guess.
Right.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Name?
Okay, great. Good evening. I want to thank you for your patience.
Name and address.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I want to thank you for your patience and energy this evening. As myself and my fellow community members voice their concerns and ask their questions with regard to the spray irrigation field. My name is Sarah Cohen. I live on South Deer Run Road, approximately a half a mile from the acquired land proposed for treatment spray irrigation. My family and I, my husband and my 3-year-old, just moved here 2 years ago from New York City. That was very deliberate. We moved here to be in close proximity to our family and friends, but also wanted to give our daughter a healthier living environment in comparison to New York City, with more room and outdoor space to enjoy. And so far, it really has been our little safe haven. When I got the notification of this proposed plan via email, I immediately started informing myself
doing research that I found on .gov sites like NIH, and also familiarizing myself with EPA regulations, DEP regulations, both on a state and federal level. And my findings were alarming. We have not been shown a comprehensive perspective of the pros and cons of this proposal. We are told this preserves agricultural land, fresh water, aquifers, brings rich nourishment and fertilization to the plants, that it's closely monitored, and our favorite thing, prevents further larger developments being built in the area. It all looks like a win-win from this angle. This is inaccurate, and there is supporting evidence to show that this practice is unsustainable, harmful to the environment, to its residents, to their quality of life, their health, and devalues the value of their homes, while also adding fiscal burdens to remediate personal things, you know, with well water testing, HVAC filtration, and other cat costs. The NIH case study that I found, there was a case study on the NIH.gov site of all people that basically had all, that did an interview of people within a 1 mile radius of an active spray field. They were interviewed for up to 45 minutes to 2 hours, and all reported acute and chronic health issues: headache, dizziness, cough, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, skin rashes, respiratory issues, difficulty breathing. The list goes on. With regard to odor, most said it was foul, with one person saying, doesn't bother me too much. Let's see here. The other ramifications were people altering and living their lives around this, basically saying kids can't go out today, for obvious reasons, staying inside to minimize aggravating any of their systems that any of their symptoms that they started experiencing. And that's why I emphasized that I was a half a mile away from the proposed spray.
Yeah, but that's not.
So I'm not finished. I'm almost done. I've got just a little bit more. So there's also inadequate testing. It's not comprehensive. According to the DEP officials, there are laws that prevent them from monitoring air contaminants and air pollution on agricultural land. So this is very scary and points to an obvious vulnerability to people surrounding that area at minimum.
This is not
1
a
mile,
farm.
1 mile radius at minimum.
It's not a private farm.
Some are under the misconception water is completely safe. This is wildly inaccurate. There is certainly a reduction, but there are still harmful contaminants, and airborne pathogens that pose serious risks. The practice of wastewater irrigation also is not sustainable, and that research shows repeatedly that soil becomes basically imbalance. There's all sorts of things called like soil salinity that basically impacts the soil's ability and the plant's ability to appropriately filter that water, which is what we're told is the benefit of water conservation. So the NCB, which is the National Center Biotech Information, calls this a serious environmental issue. This requires other steps to come in to remediate that issue, which is called soil amendments, where basically tons of harmful contaminants are applied to the soil. And many of those are traveled through air. And that's obviously very problematic because the DPE doesn't have any laws that require monitoring on the air, that makes everybody vulnerable. So that's kind of my, my real cause for concern there. Let's see, I'm almost done here. So there really is so much that can be said. I have further studies that I have, but obviously time is limited. So ultimately, okay, so there's a lot to be said as to why this is hazardous. This can impact our environment, our physical, mental, and emotional health. Not to, again, mention the devaluation of our homes being close proximity to an active spray field, and again, the additional cost for our own filtration systems. Due to the sort of nature of this meeting, I and others have already began facilitating the process to order a right to know with a local legal firm. And we are eager to learn more of the project scope, the due diligence, the monitoring, etc. I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And did you hear anything that Gary has?
Where was that study done?
Yeah, I'd like to see a copy of that.
Which one?
The study talks about the salinity.
It was on the East Coast in North Carolina.
So when you look at salinity, and we have.
Jared, can you stand up so they can hear you? Thanks.
Do you have a copy you could provide? Because I can't. I just looked up NIH. I can't find it anywhere on there.
You can't find what?
This study about spray fields.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to provide any. I have all sites and etc.
So when you look at salinity in drinking water, basically, and it does cause a problem. And there's certain areas in the United States that have a higher salinity in their drinking water. And what happens is that salinity does start to break down the soil structure. There's no way to say in the West they have problems.
Yeah, I'm well aware. Yes.
They have problems in some places down south.
Mm-hmm.
We look at our salinity in our water here, we don't have that problem. We have had, again, Larry Hepner go out and look at our soils after they've been there for 20, 25 years, and we're not seeing any kind of breakdown of our soil structure right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So we don't have the salinity that those other places do. And I agree with you, there is a concern with it. If you have high salinity in drinking water, there's a problem then with your soil. And it would be also on, if you're using your water sprinkling your lawn, you're going to have that same problem. Because basically it's the salinity in your drinking water that affects the salinity in your wastewater. So when you're talking about that, I'll agree with you on that. It will destroy the soil structure, but we have not seen any evidence of that in Buckingham Township yet. And we've been operating for over 30 years.
So are you implementing any kind of soil amendments as of now?
We looked at out at our Lejeski, and we looked at using skunk cabbage to basically do a soil fix. And Larry did a small test plot there just to see in the future if we have that problem. And he was very successful in that. And that would be, again, a problem if we do something like that and plant fields. We have to take those fields out of service. And that's one of the reasons that we are looking at new spray fields, and we've done it in several other areas, is because when we first started permitting it through DEP regulations, they had something called the 72 no spray day scenario, which you can only not spray 72 days, and you can spray all the rest of the time. No one looked at the farming, no one looked at when we had to take our crops off. So we started investigating this and going back to DEP and said, 72 no spray day does not work. You know, and then we started looking at more and more areas that we had, so we could make sure that we rest our fields and that kind of stuff. And our last area that we're looking at is the Lejeski, Durstein, Cold Spring area, that we need that ability to rest our spray fields. to do our farming techniques. You know, basically, when we crop the soils, crop the fields, we do it 3 times a year. We're down for 2 weeks. We have to let the soils dry out and the crops dry out, and then we basically harvest the crops. So that was never taken into account. So all of a sudden we're out about 6 weeks of spraying. So we need to have that additional area that we can continue spraying while we're rehabbing and doing stuff to our other spray fields. And that's what basically this project is trying to give us a little breathing room so we can basically rehab our spray fields.
Yeah, I think again, even with that said, I think again, one of the reasons why I think it was critical to look at that particular case study was that it's showing where we are vulnerable, because there is absolutely no accountability for that air. And so to say these broad statements as that treat, spray fields and using treated water is environmentally safe. Well, our environment is comprised of air, land, and water. So when you omit one of those components, that's a problem. And so there is a blind spot. And I think that what we're seeing on even global levels, because this is something that is, this is a practice that's predominantly used in developing areas. I'd like to think that we are above that. But you can look to a lot of reports looking how other developing areas were really negatively impacted as well. But again, there is a law that prohibits the monitoring of air pollutants and contaminants on agricultural land, which this is called. And so
this is township government land. It's not agricultural. We use it for agriculture because we rotate the crops to amend the soil. That's what Gary.
But there are different laws and different regulations for spray fields than a typical farm.
It's not. This is not
no,
private farmland.
I'm aware, but there is no law requiring the DEP. Exactly. Correct.
But they don't require air monitoring on any treatment.
I understand that.
And so when you're looking at any other treatment plant where you're having an intense aeration, you're getting more volatiles coming off that intense aeration than you are getting off of our spray. I'm going to make a broad statement there because I don't know exactly what's coming off of our spray fields, but there is more. Exactly. There's more problems.
And because it is not an isolated, contained, and controlled area, and there's research that indicates people having acute and chronic symptoms. I think that we can see that there could be very well a correlation between the inhalation of harmful contaminants, that it is not environmentally safe, and there is no one beholden or accountable to make sure that those standards are safe.
You know what? We're beholding and we're accountable to our township residents. And
not in that regard.
You got here 2 years ago, you said? That's awesome. And the reason you moved to Buckingham is exactly the reason that we're all here. And all of you folks are sitting here in the audience with questions and concerns. We have strict regulations that we follow. And the first spray field went in, when did you say? 1988. So have in 1988, and now we have 230 acres of spray, for over 400 acres all told, open space because of our public water system. Have we ever had anyone have a concern about health? I'm not saying that they would necessarily run to the township, but since 1988, has there been any indication of what this lady is referring to?
I would just make one comment in March.
Well, hang on a second.
I'll respond to your question though.
Okay.
Not that I know of, I I don't receive all, but not that I know of that. We have never had any out at Buckingham Forest, which is our oldest one where Paul lives.
And I live there right next to it.
Yeah, that I have not, in my knowledge, heard of anyone having acute sicknesses that they have come back and looked at our spray fields.
That, I mean.
Okay,
Okay,
you know what?
that's good.
The gentleman in the green
Oh,
shirt.
wait,
is-
the woman
I know,
We gotta get to her.
But he's been waiting and waiting and waiting, and then you can come up and
Thank you.
make your comment when he's finished. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here he comes.
You actually already answered a few of my questions earlier, but
Good. If someone asked your questions.
you answered before you didn't ask. But Tim Firmeister at 3359 Indian Spring. So I'm adjacent to the property. I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about a spray field, right? There's lots of pros and cons in here tonight. What I've heard is this is an addition to what we already have. Is that correct?
Correct.
Why do we need it now? Like, what is the big driver that says today or in October, or whatever, I guess March, why did it have to happen?
I think
To
Gary
better
just-
manage the
just
fields
address
that
that.
we have. As Gary was going through about
Yeah.
when you cropping and you're farming and you're doing that, you can't use those spray fields. So other spray fields in the system have more of a burden. If you have more land where you can spread it out, you can spray on this site while you're crapping low Jeski, and vice versa. You can rest this site and when and crop this site when you're running spray on low Jeski. The other thing is sometimes just in certain years where you have heavy rain, which we have had some of these years, where your spray days just plummet because we don't spray in the rain for obvious reasons, that we then have to make sure that we can dispose of the wastewater. So this just gives some room. Gary says it better than I do, but
And I heard it,
but
so it gives
it's good to better to manage our field.
how we had a problem, how we had a situation that we couldn't.
Yeah, tell him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, what we looked at and we followed.
Yeah.
Gary, you need to stand up.
And speak up.
Speak up.
We'll get you against your stool.
So what we did originally, and we are one of the forefront people in the state of Pennsylvania, USW, we followed the EPA manual, which DEP came up with their own spray manual, but it follows the EPA manual word for word. And there were certain things that they said, this is how we want to design it. And we did that. And so now, as we have now had 30, 40 years experience, we're starting to see that maybe that manual for cropping, because they were just looking at water disposal.
Mm-hmm.
We started looking at this and saying we can't crop the way we should, basically, to get this stuff off so we can continue growing more crops on it. And again, we have usually about a 6-week interval during the summer when we're supposed to be doing our heavy spraying, but we took the fields out of service. So we first started in Buck Forest, and we had an additional spray field 5. We put additional there. We went up to Fieldstone, and we did the Fieldstone one, which we added another 11 acres for the Fieldstone system.
Is that correct?
No, that's all
Spray.
It's all spray. And then we went and looked at the Cold Spring area. And now we're saying to the Cold Spring area, we need additional ones so we can crop it when we don't have the problems that we're having right now. So that's basically why we're looking at the additional spray fields, so it can properly maintain.
So it doesn't have it, like, I'll say my gut reaction is, are we preparing for more housing? Are we preparing for more expansion? It's, I just like, that's why
This is Buckingham. We're trying not to have.
No.
And
again, it was going to be more houses.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, we're not.
And
It's for existing. It's for existing.
so you made me think of a great point, and that is, when I first moved here, partly it was because it was a farming community where we do farming and agricultural things, including spray fields. And I, as a sewer customer, public sewer customer, most tax parcels are not on public sewer. So the people, like in this room, that are on public, and myself, have paid for those 500 acres. We need it, don't get me wrong, but the rest of the township has benefited from 500 acres of permanent open space from water and sewer customers, not from tax dollars. That's really important. These are not tax dollars. These are customer dollars. So just some other benefits, I just wanted to say.
And growth. And the way DEP originally looked at that, they wanted to limit our spray fields to limit growth. That was their main thing back in the 80s and 90s. We're not going to make our spray fields that big because we're going to limit growth. And our discussions with them is you have a treatment process in front of this which limits growth because we're not going to be adding more lagoon capacity. You know, we just want the spray field so we can additional spray field so we can actually do our proper farming techniques. So we are governed by our treatment process of how much we can push through our spray fields. So we are permitted on our treatment facility, and what they're saying now, finally they came around to it and said, yes, we understand that you need to do your renovations and stuff to your spray fields and for your cuttings and stuff like that. So we're not looking at your spray field now as restricting growth. We're looking at what you're doing now to benefit your existing spray fields. So what they're still saying to us is, you are governed by your treatment process. This is how many gallons per day. And if you look at Cold Spring, we have no EDUs left. If you look at Furlong, we'd have no EDUs.
Yeah, you need to explain what an EDU
An
is.
EDU equivalent dwelling unit, a house, or an apartment, or a townhouse. So we don't have any room, according to our planning, that we can put into those lagoons. And we can't put them into most every one of our lagoons. I don't know if we look at, and I haven't looked at the McKee one yet, but I don't think we can put an extra capacity in there. I mean, so we are governed by what we can, and we really don't want any more water going into lagoons because we have to get rid of it. And a lot of the problem that we didn't look at back in the 80s is when we have a 3-inch rain, that 3-inch rain goes into the lagoons. So now we have extra water to get rid of. When DEP came up with this thing, they never considered that. So now we go from what the DEP in the 80s said, 90 days storage is fine. We are now up to 120 days storage. So we have increased our storage, making sure that we don't overflow a lagoon. Because I never want to see, a 1550 lagoon being breached.
So just to that point, somebody mentioned Indian Springs Road flooding around bad falling apart. Well, flooding is a big problem as well. I know you said you'll be testing the ground, but is there any chance this will add to flooding?
No. What we do is we design the spray fields at that infiltration rate, what I talked about what we do. And we're only allowed to use 5% of the infiltration rate of the field itself. So the infiltration rate of a field you can put X amount of water down on it. DEP says, okay, 5% is what you can actually put down on that. So we are limited by the amount of water we can actually put down, and we're limited by the actual nitrogen that we can put down. So when we do our calculations, we're looking at basically infiltration, and we're looking at nitrogen balance. So we're trying to balance those two things when we're looking at our spreadsheets.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, wait, this lady is gonna
And
comment.
then Garrett, then
And
you
then
can be
Garrett.
next. Okay.
But we still
Bones
have,
shut it.
we still have
Good.
My name is Christine Tomlinson. I am a lifelong resident of Buckingham Township. I live on Antler Drive. And I just have 2 comments. One is just to, I believe it's Gary had said in his first, explanation of water and all the different science behind the decision making, that most of the current spray fields are placed away from private wells. So my question is, how was the decision come to put this location around one of the higher concentrations of private wells in the township? Not to mention our adjoining neighbors who are in Tilbury Township with a large neighborhood of private wells that will also be affected. And to Maggie's question about since 1988, we've been doing the same process, and perhaps people have not come forward with medical conditions and chronic illnesses. I will draw to your attention that in March, we received an email from Central Bucks East High School requiring that all students refrain from drinking the water because PFOS were found in the water at the school. And if you do some research, it asks, how does PFOS get into drinking water? The 4 major sources of this are fire training, industrial sites, landfills, and wastewater treatment. That happened just as recently as March of this year. So to your question, no, perhaps people have not come forward with medical issues yet. And possibly they will. A lot of the research that I read, and I am no expert, I'm just doing a 2-day scan from when I found out, talks about the increased levels of heavy metals, pharmaceutical contaminants, and nitrates found in locations that are close to these type of spray fields.
Yeah, and I think so. Actually, before I ask Jim to speak to it, because I think it's referring to streams. How many people here go to Giant or Costco and buy like a little pallet of water bottles full of water? Anybody here? I hope not. Nobody uses plastic bottles.
What does that have to do with this?
Because that's where the PFAS is coming from. Also, so that's why I was asking. I'm not criticizing. I'm just asking.
In this document, in this explanation, they don't say it comes from plastics. They say the specific 4 things that it comes from. And yes,
it is plastic.
I understand that, but that's in the news. That's a major contaminating source. But that's not wastewater.
Except that we have no spray field near CBEs.
And CBEs has
Right, but you have it up the road at the Cold Spring, and the way the water runs, I'm not familiar.
Jim, could you speak to the contaminants and where they're going, and not necessarily North Spray fields, really?
Yeah. So there are lots and lots and lots of sources of PFAS. Carpets, fleece jackets, baby diapers. There's a whole bunch of stuff. The problem is when you wash that, it all goes into your wastewater, which then goes to the wastewater treatment plant, which is where you can find it. But it's really from our acquisition of articles and things like that that's the real source of it. It's not the wastewater itself that's creating PFASs.
But how about the pharmaceutical? Like, there's other things. But it's in there.
Being sprayed, but then it becomes come out because the treatment plant.
It's in everybody's.
So, go ahead. You gotta get the
White sweater, just come on, I'm calling you. You come. Because I've been able to see.
I know, John had a firefighter wanted to call
No,
him.
that's all right.
And I'm going to change the subject. So
Okay.
this is just so you can read along with me.
Great, thank you.
I swear.
Another one here. Do you have enough?
I have one more. You can share. And then there's 3 of these.
Oh, yeah.
Devonshire?
Yes, and I feel bad because some of my neighbors left. But I will be super quick.
What you take the time you need.
Oh. Sorry, guys. I need to change the subject. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So my name's Nicole Hellier. I live at 2041 Bedfordshire Road in Devonshire Estates.
What does any good?
It's the height thing.
Yeah? Now?
Yep.
No?
Yeah, you better.
Okay. So, we've been working on this for a little bit. So, I'm speaking just for 10 of us in our development. We're just requesting that the Buckingham Township Board of Supervisors can review Section 502A, point 3 of the zoning ordinance to Devonshire Estates to lots 167 to 175, and possibly dissolve the double asterisk setback requirement. So I bought my property August 10th, 2020, and Section 502A-A.3 of the zoning ordinance requires a 40 feet rear yard setback for 187 of the 197 houses in my development. If you see on the next page, there's the 4-layer outline of our development. However, there's a double asterisk after this setback requirement, which references requiring a setback of 75 feet under certain circumstances. One of those circumstances is where a rear yard borders the Devonshire 1 overlay district boundary, where the boundary is not coincident with the Devonshire 2 outlay district boundary. Although the meaning of this provision is confusing at best, I acknowledge that I am one of the 10 houses affected by the double asterisk, subject to these conditions. This understanding was made by reviewing the recorded subdivision plan for Devonshire Estates. The map below indicates that the setback for 10 lots, including mine, are subject to 75 feet rear yard setbacks and 75-foot buffer yards, presumably because their boundary is not coincident with the Devonshire 2 overlay district boundary. You'll see in the next picture, I've highlighted the 10 houses in the development that are affected by this. So with respect to my property, compliance with the 75 feet yard setback and the 75-foot rear buffer yard results in there being virtually no area behind my residence on the property where improvements can be constructed. The builder, Orleans, built my home right up against the buffer yard partition. This circumstance imposes an unreasonable hardship on the use of my own property. I pay the same taxes as my neighbors. I'm responsible for the care and upkeep of the buffer yard and the setback, even though I cannot make any improvements to them. Lot 170 below, you can see the double asterisk set of broken lines. That's my parcel. If we were not subject to the double asterisk 75-foot buffer yard and the 75-foot setback rule, the work I proposed previously would comply with the base requirement of a 40-foot rear yard setback that the other 187 homes are subject to. In the next picture, you'll see the 75-foot rear yard requirement only affects properties whose rear yards do not share a boundary with the Devonshire 2 overlay district. As an examination of photos on the previous page demonstrates, a huge majority of the lots in Devonshire area are not subject to the 75 feet buffer yard and the 75-foot setback provision. Furthermore, according to these photographs, there are several lots that are subject to the 75-foot rear yard requirement and have improvements constructed within this setback. A pool permit was issued for 2065 Bedfordshire Road in July 22 in error, and the pool was constructed two doors down from my residence. The existence of improvements within the 75 feet setback on a neighboring property is not a justification to excuse compliance with the setback as it applies to my property. However, this photograph demonstrates that dissolving the 75-foot buffer yard and 75-foot setback for the 10 houses will not adversely affect neighboring properties or the character of our Devonshire neighborhood. The photo below also demonstrates that, you'll see them on the next page. The photos below also demonstrate that the area behind my home consists of a substantial area of woods with large trees. This area is supposed to be preserved and is no longer farmed. The owner of the property, when the agreement was made with the builder on August 30th, 2000, passed away and the land has been sold. Trees have fallen throughout the years and have not been replaced, and some of the land has been cleared. You can see all the downed tree debris that have been pushed to sit along my property line. That photo shows the back of my home on the next page. The land is used for ATV riding, as you can see from the Fresh Track Mark photos. Heavy equipment storage and recreational bow hunting is being marketed, allowing us, the 10 lots affected, the 40-foot setback that most houses in the area have will not adversely affect the property in the rear of lots 175 through 167. So you see the ATV and the bow hunting advertisement for the person that controls that and gets paid for that, collects from the hunters. So when I purchased my home in 2020, the first line was location, location, location on a premium oversized lot backing towards this fabulous Bradford. We were misled by the previous owner to think we could use the entire yard as we intended to install a pool and other amenities. The majority of the 10 homes affected by this double asterisk rule are not original owners. Considering what we have since learned concerning the rear yard setback, we have limited the improvements that we previously proposed. I only have 8 feet available to me. These properties are burdened by a 75 feet rear yard setback and a 75-foot buffer yard that is not imposed on a huge majority of lots in Devonshire subdivision. Because the 75-foot setback extends to the edge of the rear of my residence, there are only 8 buildable feet where improvements can be constructed in compliance with the rear yard setback requirements established by Section 502A.3. We, the owners, we haven't created this situation. Most of us weren't aware until after we purchased our homes. We love where we live, and we're not looking to change the aesthetic of Buckingham Township. But you have the power to make a difference in people's lives, and I myself am honestly emotionally and financially exhausted from this journey. I just want to enjoy my home in peace. So I just wanted you guys to review that and see if it's still accurate.
And just to give you my preliminary recollection from the Devonshire time, the property that is behind you was a preserved farm, and we had a different buffer requirement along, for development sites next to preserved farms. So that's why I believe, and again, we're gonna have to look into it a little bit more, but I believe that is why.
And isn't this also a plan?
It's a plan requirement as well.
This
And
board doesn't have the authority unilaterally
to waive it, right? But again, I'm just trying to explain, I believe that at the time, there was a requirement that the buffer be increased along the preserved farm, which your properties applied. So that was why we had that. And I think when we revised the ordinance, we crafted the wording of the overlay district. So the overlay district didn't really apply to why it was there. It was just the way to define where it was, rather than calling lot numbers out. It was just an easier way to define the boundary.
Yeah, mine is the most affected. So I literally, my sliding doors, I have 8 feet, so I could only put steps.
Unfortunately, it's a subdivision plan, so every resident in Devonshire, as well as, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody that's adjacent to you would have the ability to put up an objection to you having that right. So this board doesn't necessarily, it's not the only person who would be involved in reducing that buffer yard. Again, it's a subdivision plan that everybody that lives in your community is subject to, and that's sort of why our hands are tied. That's the subdivision plan that everyone bought. Your neighbor, the neighbor that lives next to you on the farm, all are have rights from that plan. So it's not as simple as just having the board say, yeah, you can go ahead and.
It's just 10 houses. That's why.
But it's not. It's everybody in Devonshire that is subject to this overall record plan has the right to object, and your homeowners association as well.
Yeah, but they told me I could build. So.
Your HOA did?
Yeah.
Okay.
They approved
HOA
it.
did?
Yeah, they improved the installation of a deck in my backyard, and then it was declined here. So.
Sorry.
Yeah. So the zoning board just suggested I talk to you, so that's why I did this.
Well, the zoning hearing board could probably give you relief for the very reasons we're talking about it, and that is that the township, when there's a subdivision plan like this put in place, everybody that buys a lot in that subdivision is deemed to have rights in that subdivision plan. So how this becomes awkward is if anybody in Devonshire decided they wanted to object to your building more than 8 feet, they could.
Yeah.
And then you could build a deck or whatever, and you'd have to tear it down because they objected to it.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, technically, if you got everyone's signature and said it's okay, it would be fine.
Right.
I suspect this board would probably be fine with it. But the problem is you'd have to get the okay from everyone else in the development. And as Dan said, even people bordering development that are being benefited from the development plan restrictions.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate you.
I'm sorry you sat there.
It's all right. I felt bad because I felt like I was minimal compared to everybody else here.
I apologize. I should have asked if anyone had something besides spray. So can you, if you did get everybody's signature, could you have the HOA facilitate that?
I only want, I know this sounds so minimal to you guys, but I only want 5 feet. I just want 5 more feet. I have like 0.6 acres and I can't do anything. Like it's not buildable. I like have 8 feet. I'm like, just give me 5 more. That's all I want. Just to build a deck. Like, I don't care. Like, it's fine. Like, but I just feel like I'm like stuck. My house is the worst affected by the thing. So I'm in the wedge.
Yeah,
I am.
you're in the wedge.
It's the story of my life. I'm the wedge. So, so I apologize.
Thank you.
And I'll do a little more.
Midway.
You know what, and we'll look into it more with you too, like follow up with us in the office and, we'll see what we can, okay.
Yeah, they're my
Right.
neighbors.
Yeah.
We had other neighbors. We're just trying to see what we can do.
I just want to be sure, you've been to the zoning hearing board?
I have.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they told you basically they don't have the ability to grant you the relief.
Well, they said
Because the plan there?
Yeah.
maybe we could do so many feet, but now it's, well, if you have to put this in, you're gonna need this many more feet, so I'm gonna have to go back again. I'll go back again, you know, A for effort.
So sorry.
Okay.
But I appreciate you, thank you.
You were misled.
Jared now.
Jared?
Hi,
Thank
it's Miles Scambosi, 4591 Mechanicsville Road. I wanted to thank you for the stewardship that you're doing with the land. And when you're driving around Bucks County and Buckingham, seeing all the different open fields with the preservation and the open space. Thank you.
Aw,
Thanks,
thank
Jared.
you.
Thanks, Sue.
Okay. So we have a meeting to get on to, but
Oh,
does
wait.
anybody else have anything they want to add that we haven't heard from before?
Will there be,
Man in the blue sweater.
yes, thank you. Will there be further meetings about this subject, or is this the final meeting?
Well,
There's all further meetings about
Yeah,
it.
we-
This is not even
I
a meeting
mean,
about
this
this
is-
subject.
yeah.
Public
Yeah.
comment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, the next thing is they'll begin to
Design.
design it.
And I think the other thing is that we'll probably also look at having a more just informational session that maybe we can work out with our volunteers at the EAC that just goes into more depth on spray fields in general and that kind of thing, and get some more information there too.
So I'm Matthew Henderson, and I live at 3387 Indian Spring Road. And I didn't really want to say anything. I just wanted to come here tonight and listen. So is the township interested in buying any of the other adjacent properties, residential homes that are adjacent to this field? Since you bought this field at above asking price, would there be above asking price interest for some of the other personal homes? Okay. Yeah, so it's funny, right?
Yeah, it's not funny.
So it's always risky, right? Because when I'm listening to this gentleman over here, and I'm listening to this gentleman here,
Did you hear what John said?
Yeah,
What's
we bought it, we can't buy land unless it's appraised.
Okay.
And that's what the appraisal price was.
Yeah, we
Okay.
didn't
We
just
can't
say,
just
oh,
go
let's
out
give
and
him
make
more
up a
money
number.
because we really want
It's
to buy
gotta be
this.
appraised.
Okay,
The
now,
process.
are there minutes being taken for this meeting, by the way?
Yeah,
Counselor?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Why? Because you think that's not true?
I'm just asking just to clarify.
Yeah, we take minutes.
It's a fair question. The two gentlemen up here, very interesting anecdotal information that's been shared, and I think a lot of information is anecdotal. There is meta-analysis to show pros and cons of the spray fields, depending on what you want to look for. I think it's risky. This is my personal view of building a plan based on 1980s science and data rules and regulations.
It's not 1980s.
No, we have evolved from the 1980s.
Okay.
We have all new
We've
standards.
just been doing it since then.
All right, so quick question for you. Since it's perfectly safe to have spray fields near wells, why is there a regulation around how close those spray fields can be to a well?
The regulations are based on the sand mound septic system, and what DEP has come back and decided is that they will impose that on the spray field. So we have those same isolation distances that you have from your well to your septic tank. We exceed that.
So on Indian Spring Road, so you can't prove the correlation for this, right? It is anecdotal, so I'm not making this as a definitive statement. There's a woman across the street from us on Indian Spring Road, the woman across the street from her on Indian Spring Road who shares the long driveway with us, my next door neighbor, and then my wife on Valentine's Day, all have died from colon cancer on our street. So very, very interesting, but it's not just, I think, panacea, right? Just put a spray field in and say that there's just no risk factors for health associated with it. I'll leave it with that.
I can add to that. For sale on Indian Spring Road and Long
Wait,
Lane.
you have to give MJ your Mary Jane your
My
name.
name's Chris Tomlinson. I live at 3117 Antler Drive. Gentleman that owned the land is 16 acres on the corner of Indian Spring and Long Lane. I worked at his house. I'm an electrician.
he told me flat out, I said, why don't you subdivide this? He goes, I cannot. Because of the runoff from the chemicals of the farm, his water would not be approved for subdivision, and subsequently he has cancer. True story, right out of the horse's mouth.
Those are the properties, which,
Where?
what properties are you talking about?
It's the corner of Long Lane and Indian Spring Road. There's a 15 or 16 acre parcel with a single family home, swimming pool, and a large 4 or 5 car detached garage.
Okay.
He built it in the 80s. He says he could not sell it to a developer, and when he had his water tested, he had to do it between farming cycles because depending on the chemicals and what went into the well water, it wouldn't pass.
This is on the other side of Long Lane for Maximums, cross street for Maximums?
No,
the other farms, the other farms.
There's on the low side. It's on Indian Spring right at that corner. It's not where Barley's building. It's
not the
on
hill.
that corner.
The yellow track?
Right next to that farm.
Backs up to Tom Tricecki's farm?
Yes.
Okay.
Right
I mean, there was a subdivision plan 15 years ago in here for that, and it died because of,
And I'm telling you,
they
the
didn't get
gentleman
it.
told me that his water, because of the farm and because of the runoff, had polluted his well water. And he could not sell it. But I said, why didn't this subdivide? Why did builders stop this up? And that was the reason why.
There was a developer that was trying to build on it, and I think they came to the understanding the township wasn't supportive of their proposed application, but I don't recall there ever being any contamination in the water. That was never presented to the township.
The homeowner, the person who owned it.
I'm not suggesting that there wasn't a water problem.
I'm just saying that's quite an admission from somebody that's, you know what I mean? I don't think that he would just come up with some erroneous excuse.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how deep was his well? What's that? How deep was the well?
That's an older.
I mean, if it's an old home, it could have a 40-foot well. It's built in the 80s, I know.
Oh, and was he farming on it? Is that what
No,
you
it was
said?
Tricecki's farm.
He was getting runoff from
shallow
Tricecki.
wells.
We don't know.
Right, that's what Gary, I mean, what this is what we're doing, is getting
Someone
rid
else.
of that.
That's
I
what we're
think Mike
getting rid of.
wants to speak.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I just want to make sure we're done with the. I don't want to go until we're still off topic
Oh,
with this. So
You can do whatever you want.
keep going.
I think Brad?
Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Diane Treat. I'm at 5816 Mechanicsville Road. So I am unfortunately one of the homes that will be surrounded by these spray fields. I have a multitude of questions and concerns, which I want to be clear. Are we having another meeting on spray fields on the next meeting? Will it be part of the agenda? Yes or no?
No, this is public comment.
Public comment.
So if you want to
This is not a
consider
meeting.
this a meeting,
Yeah. We may
It's
have an
public
informational meeting when it comes to water.
So how do I get
Well,
on
and
the
I had also
agenda?
talked to you that we would keep in touch through it. Because
Yes, you spoke to me last
yeah,
Friday
yeah,
when
and-
Mr. McCardle came over and told me that this was happening.
Yeah, and I told you, you and I will talk through that. Miss Treat, she owns the parcel, the out parcel right in there, one of the two out parcels.
Yes, my neighbor behind me, who will also be surrounded, is here as well.
Good.
So how do I get on the agenda to have another meeting about the spray fields? Is that not a possibility?
every meeting it is, because this is public comment.
Well, I think what I had offered to you was actually more even just to me, as we're designing it, to be part of, to know of that too. I mean, I think obviously, everyone can be informed of that, but you and your neighbor that are right, in that out parcel, we were talking about any specific concerns and that kind of thing. We can certainly sit down also just to talk about some of your specific things as we're designing and in doing that. I mean, the design each time, each meeting doesn't come back to the board like each month through the design when you're designing a spray field. But I know we had said that we would, look at everything before we even start. not really started yet.
So, right.
Yeah,
So
we
is it
still
a done?
have some studies and some base information that we have to get on the property that Gary can speak to better than I, but you know, about the soil test and things before things are even planned. Like we can, you know, keep you
So
in the
I
loop
guess
on
that's part of the question then. So is this a done deal already? Have you tested the property and it's perfectly safe for what you guys want for spray fields? And also the other question is, why did you choose this property, which is so close to so many residents who have private wells? Why don't you do spray fields in areas where there aren't so many homes?
Yeah, there's not that much land for sale in Buckingham.
It's available land that was for sale that's adjacent to an existing spray field.
So if it was for sale, why did you have to take it by eminent domain?
Well, I think, and we kind of explained some of that, we offered the full price for it. The previous owner came back, wanted more money, wanted to develop the open space that's attached to your property too on that other side, that adjacent property.
The 14 acres of preserved.
Also.
Yes.
No, but that's
but
what
he
she's
wanted
saying.
to develop that also as part of the deal. And so when we were kind of going back and forth and we came to a point where he was just asking for more and more, the
And the
township
township-
went that next
They
step.
can't pay it because the
And
township
we
is
can't
limited.
pay. We can only pay appraised value. We can't pay $2 million. We can't, then allow him to build a house next to your house.
But I
in the
understand
open
that. I understand
space
that. But
parcel.
why
So
do the
that is where we
supervisors,
went to.
why do you get to choose that the neighbors want spray fields rather than 7 homes there? Did you ask any of the neighbors that? I would rather have a home next to me than a spray field.
But those 7 homes would also need
More spray fields.
wastewater treatment.
Not there now.
But not there. That would be separate.
Wait, so we're gonna put wastewater treatment.
But also 7, you're saying, the spray fields will increase the value of my home. Yet I've spoken to several realtors around here who say it brings the value of the entire neighborhood down.
That's not true.
So that is true.
Okay, fine. Everybody has an opinion.
Okay, so, and does anyone else? Blue shirt? Blue shirt?
Matthew Martindale, 5866 South Deer Run Road. Few questions for
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Matthew Martindale, 5866 South Deer Run Road.
Thank you, Mark.
Paul, question for you first. You were so proudly stating that you weren't worried about your kids being poisoned. Are you on public water or do you have a well?
Well, I do take a little offense to that because we're all worried about our kids with anything that could happen.
I'm not disagreeing.
That's not. I'll say that's not exactly what I meant, but I've been there. I've been next to a spray field and basin for over a couple decades.
You've been next
and
to it.
I can just tell you the experience that my family and my neighbors have had.
Are you drinking well water or are you drinking public water?
I drink public water.
Okay, then that.
And I have.
Okay, then you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about a well. You don't have to worry about a well then.
Well, no, but public water is
well
water.
It's treated. It's treated well water. It's treated well water. Okay.
Listen, you have to follow the science.
Yeah,
And Gary
hold on.
explained to you the science of how water filters.
Next
through
to
the
Gary.
tanks.
You said your test wells are 40 feet down.
To monitor the groundwater.
Okay. What about all of us with our wells that are 100, 150, 200 feet down? Where's that testing?
Gary. What we're trying to do is look at the top of the groundwater system. You're pulling from 100 feet down below that.
We're pulling from water shelves.
And what we're trying to do is see what's actually getting into the groundwater. So what we're looking at is that first layer of groundwater to make sure that it doesn't percolate down to where your wells are.
Okay.
So that's what we're trying to do. And just to say something, the only treatment that Buckingham Township does for its water, except for the arsenic removal up in Cold Spring, and we're going to be putting a PFOA up in Cold Spring because we have PFOAs there. The only other treatment that we do is just disinfection. And surrounding the Buckingham forest where Paul lives, our wells surround that whole.
I understand they surround it, but they're only 40 feet. They're not telling you the true depth of everybody else's wells around us.
No.
We're just sampling.
I don't-
Our water wells. Our public water are also.
Are they being monitored and tested, and can we get all that?
We have to, again.
And it has to be.
And how deep are they?
It depends on where they are.
Okay.
You know, we have some wells that are, where there's no water, 700 feet deep. We have some wells that are 60 feet deep. So depending on where the water is in the water bearing zones is actually where we set our pumps and stuff like that.
Okay.
We just dug one down at F8A, our newest well that we're looking down, and I believe we hit about 8 feet.
Okay.
So, you know, so wherever the water is that's where how far we go down to. But for what we're looking for sampling, just the sample to make sure that we're not getting pollutants down into it. That's why we have our monitoring wells, just sampling the top of the groundwater
Okay.
to see what we're actually putting into the ground.
Yeah. And John, you referenced earlier, Johnsville was all PFOAs from firefighting.
Yeah.
Do you have the reports for that?
No, but I remember the federal studies.
Okay.
And most of it was from practice. The firefighters would practice crash.
Did you live down there?
What's that?
Did you live there?
No, but I
Okay.
know people who live down there. I mean,
Okay,
it's
I will
all-
tell. I
it's-
will tell you.
Yeah, it's a mess.
And I'm going to make this as short as I possibly can. I'm a ground zero child of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know Shenandoah Woods is probably just.
Shenandoah
banned.
was not the ground zero.
Yeah. Well,
Kirk Road was the ground zero. My father died from it.
yeah,
I lived in nuclear water for 26 years. Those reports are sealed. 2 years after my father died, they came and sealed our well and refused to give us the reports to this day. My sister's still fighting to get the reports of what's in those wells. So if they're not giving us those reports for 33 years, those things started back in the 50s. My father died in 1991. You're asking about people reporting things and people dying. It took 42 years for people to start doing this. So you don't know. You have no clue. So why are you going to spray stuff that you don't know about? The EPA, as much as everybody loves them, and the DEP, as much as everybody loves them, I've been fighting this my whole life. I was born in that house. I drank that water. I drank that hose. I played in the creeks. Every one of my neighbors and family members are sick from this. And now you're going to do this to me again.
Oh, that was.
I moved out
firefighting
here.
Foam and jet fuel.
I'm telling you, it's not just fire foam. I lived there. I lived across the street from it. I watched them spray the runways. I watched them spray the roads. I watched them use the fire foams. I played in the planes that they sprayed the fire foams on. I know exactly what happened in there. You want to go by a federal report. That's what you want to go by. Because they don't want to release the true chemicals and the true everything that's there. I lived it. Please don't argue with somebody that lived it. You're going to poison us all.
Okay, to the microphone. You give your name and address.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Oh.
Living in Buckingham, I have seen a lot of different things with wells. Do you, by any chance, know if you were to build a home today, what is the depth of the well that you would have to put in? What is required today to put a well in if you were to build a house? That's an important factor. Does anybody know?
It depends where the property is.
150 to 200 feet.
It's 150, I'm sure, or not more today. It was 150, 200 when I built 45 years ago. If that's the case, how come this is going to be so shallow? And have you had any studies, or are you going to have studies to show where the water goes, how deep it's going to go when after it's sprayed? What happens with this water
That's
with
what
all these
Gary-
houses? I know with myself.
Gary's been talking about monitoring wells all night.
I'm sorry, what?
The monitoring wells that are surround the spray field are to monitor the water from the spray field. It's not for well water. That's what he's been speaking about all night.
I know, but no one knows the answers of what the wells
There,
are
she's
that are already
talking.
there. Are they 150? It was required today, a good 150 to put in a house, and I think it may be 200, but I'm not
For well
sure.
water, absolutely.
Hmm?
For well water, yeah.
These are monitoring wells?
No, she's talking about well
No, but I'm saying the ones Gary's speaking of, the testing we do are monitoring wells. So they're not potable water wells. So we don't have to go 150 feet. These are wells that we were putting in to test the water before it gets into the aquifer. That's what the purpose of these wells are. Test wells are not actual drinking wells.
Where are those wells? Yeah, sure. I'm glad to hear it. I like to hear anything you have to say.
Part of our hydrogeological study, we do a plume analysis to see where the water is going. So that will be, I'll have to ask the township.
That would be one study.
If they can make that available when we finish our study on that. Basically, it goes into the design report.
Yeah, that's all right. You just can't give out information about where actual wells are, because someone will go out and put something in.
So this is basically what we do is we do a groundwater mounding analysis and a plume analysis. So
Okay.
This is where how much the groundwater will rise in the
Right.
by the amount of water we're putting down, and where the water actually goes.
Down when it gets lower.
It gets down, and how the water moves through the aquifers
Mhm.
or spray fields. And that is a requirement of the DEP that we have to submit that. And there's certain things that if we exceed whatever we have, and we've never done that yet, they will say you can't put your spray fields in. So, we go through a hydrological study to look at the groundwater in that area that we're
Mhm.
actually working.
One other study I was also thinking about, and if the township has thought about it, where the spray areas are now, have you done any studies to health studies for the people that live in those areas? And if not, would you think it would be a good idea to do that?
Why would we do that?
Why would you do that? You have all these sprays.
Anybody else that has not spoken want to speak? Okay.
Tell me, Doc.
No. Just asking if anybody else wants to ask a question. Are you going to do the epidemiological?
They didn't answer my question.
Public comment.
Are you going to do any
Certainly
studies on
something to
health issues
consider.
around the sprays?
Something to consider. We've never
That's
had
that's
this
why I'm
kind of.
bringing it up. It's something that's
Okay, a gentleman wants to
I don't know.
talk behind you.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
She could have talked.
That's
fine,
wasn't done. I wasn't done. I was
Yeah.
wondering what we were doing about studies for the people.
You can answer.
To live around the sprays, and I didn't get an answer.
Oh, Maggie just said
I said
that's
it's
something that can be
we would-
considered.
we would, out of this meeting, that we'll consider.
Yeah, yep, okay.
Thanks, Arlene.
Would that be before you set this spray
No.
mitigation up?
No, we
Not
don't.
necessarily.
We're not.
I mean, to be totally transparent, no.
Go ahead.
Hello, my name's Edward Couberno. I live at 5877 Pheasant Lane, and I have friends that live near Cold Spring Creamery Road. And let me tell you something. I went to their house last August because I do car repairs. I got out of the car and I said, what in the world is that smell? So the mother says, oh, that's the spray fields ever since that's been going on. She says, sometimes I got to keep my kids home or inside the house because they get nauseous when they are outside playing or going to school. She says, I said, well, how come you don't do anything? She goes, there's nothing you can do about it. And you know what? How come you didn't tell us that when we walked in here tonight? If you're here for a spray fields, don't even bother because it's a done deal. The only thing you can do is ask us questions, but we're going forward with everything. It's really not a democracy. It reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? Every time I see ban the super Wawa, ban it. I said, in 6 months, there'll be a super Wawa. There's nothing we can do, basically, is what you're saying. It's going to go up no matter what. The only thing we can do here is find out what
how safe it is or how unsafe it is. So there's no way we're going to stop it. So it's our community, it's our tax dollars, it's our neighborhood, it's our wells, it's our septics that are getting damaged. And now we have to spend more money to monitor them even more often. So there's really nothing we can do. This is the United States of America. There's nothing we can do.
Before you leave, could you give me the contact to the person whose children are ill? Because that's the beginning of a study like that.
They're not ill. They don't even want to go outside. It's numerous. I do. It's the smell. It's just the smell. I smelled it. And believe me, I'm in really good shape. And I couldn't believe it. And to say that it doesn't affect that's the whole, I do 8 vehicles in that neighborhood. 6 of them told me that. The other 2 I drop off when they're not home, so I didn't even talk to them. So don't tell me that this thing is not.
What neighborhood?
It's Cold Spring Creamery Road. It's a bunch of people up there.
Ask them if they're comfortable having you share their contact.
Okay, I'll ask them. I don't want to give that information out unless I ask them. But it's the whole. Driving through it, you can tell. Come on.
Well, so Cold Spring Creamery Road, which a lot of us, well, maybe not in this room, but some of us do. And I used to live there for like 12 years, and I lived in multiple homes there. There's also Sparks there, which was there before any of the homes. If anything, Sparks is more of the smell of anything. So I can tell you, when I lived there for all those years, which we had spray fuels and stuff, it was mostly Sparks. And yes, Sparks, you are correct. Sometimes it is a very powerful smell. They have to go inside, but they were there first.
Or retention basins, which get smelly. But we really have to know what neighborhood it is, because there's thousands of homes along there. And,
okay.
There's Fireside, there's Hearthstone, there's the Ridings. If you would narrow it down, because I'm up in those neighborhoods all the time.
It's near Burnhouse. It's near Burnhouse Hill and Queens.
That's far. That's a multiplier on the corner.
No, wait, he's responding to this guy.
I'm responding to the speaker.
Yes.
Okay.
And another thing, you had mentioned earlier about you try to deflect and say, oh, well, how about when you get drinking water? I'll bet you that's where all the PFAs are coming from. How about I guess all the prescription drugs are in the drinking bottles too that we're buying from Giant? Some people, it's not even through excretion. Some people just take their old pills and dump them in the toilet and flush them. How about that? We got to deal with all that.
That's what Jim was saying earlier.
That's why we have a drug case.
And you know what? The same thing is, my wife and I worked our butt off to move up here, and now it's the same thing. Now we have to move somewhere else. It's just I thought we were going to stay here. We're not staying here. I guarantee that if I had my house appraised now and the market didn't change when they're in, I'll bet you they would take into consideration I'm near a spray field. I guarantee it, 100%, no question about it. No question about it. And that's not fair. It's not. This isn't a democracy. We can't even do anything about it. Like you said, the next meeting we'll talk about the planning of it. So there's nothing we can do. Basically, we're just here. Blah blah. That's all you're hearing is blah blah blah, and then you're just going to do what you want to do. There's nothing we can do.
Well, you know what? That's not my intention, and just like I'm not gonna say why you're here. We shouldn't attack each other's intentions and stuff, because that's where it breaks down. So I would appreciate you don't attack my intention. I won't attack your intention.
I'm not attacking your intention. Yeah, it's the truth though. There's no, like, whatever we do here tonight isn't going to stop you from doing what you're doing. You bought it. You're not going to take a property and not do what you wanted to do with it, because then what are you going to do with it? Like you said, it was a lot of money. So you're going to just go forward what you're doing. There's nothing we can do about it.
We got to get rid of the wastewater. And I'll tell you what, there's more septic systems in this township than there are spray fields. Okay? Just remember that.
Okay. Do you want to have another comment?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for.
Can I speak?
This lady wants to speak. She was been here waiting.
Can I speak?
No.
Sean, you're supposed
Someone's
to
before
wait in
you.
line.
Can I speak?
No.
Sean.
This lady
Turn
is
this
going
thing
to
up,
speak
please.
before you.
I'm loud enough. I don't need to be by the speaker. So I'm just
Name, address.
Street Road. Wondering about the alternatives.
Do we get a name?
No, she didn't.
What's your name?
Jessica. Rosa.
Okay.
3371 Street Road, right across the street.
what are alternatives for spray irrigation? So what I'm hearing is that a lot of concern is property values. So besides, if you're saying everything is going to be okay with the water, the wells, and everything around it, that's wonderful. But there's the concern for you have all these pipes coming up, the spray, the odor, the aerosols. You're saying we're not able to test the air with it, and we're not doing that type of testing. So what about drip irrigation? They do that for wastewater treatment as well. It's just more expensive.
It's
so
the same. It's the same process.
Alleviate everyone else's concern about seeing this all spraying and having the aerosolize the odor, and you're still able to treat your water and get everything done. Why is this not a discussion or an alternative?
It's the same process. Gary can answer you, but it's the same process.
It's not the same process.
The cleaning of the water is the same. The water that comes out of drip and the water that comes out of the spray bulb is the same water. It's clean water.
No. But I understand
It's water.
that. I'm saying if there's complaining of odors, if they're concerned
The
about
odors are not coming
air
from the
quality,
spray.
the water may be coming out the same, but you're not aerosolizing it.
It's not from this, but the odor would be from the basins, not the spray field.
Is there a basin that will be put by the spray field, or is there no basin that's in front of it?
There's no basin. The basins are behind the district court, and they're all like when you go into Hearthstone. All the basins are all along Cold Spring Creamery Road.
Okay, so what I'm just saying is that if a lot of people are concerned about one, yes, you're saying the water's not going to be affected. Let's just assume that's the case. But as far as for aesthetics, property values, and not having that, because people driving by, then you see that, nobody's going to know it's a drip irrigation field. It just looks like open space.
You want to speak to that, Karen?
Is that possible?
Yeah, is that possible?
In woods,
Well,
in the woods.
again,
It is possible to put drip irrigation down.
I know it's more expensive, but I think a lot of people would be happy with that instead of having it sprayed by their house. Right.
I will have discussions with the council on that.
But do we
well,
farm?
but I
we
do
farm?
also
Yes,
think that.
you can still farm all that you can have.
You can't farm.
Now,
So, and I want just one clarification though. As far as
It is the
Now,
processing. The processing of the water is the same process.
Or what is it that you're actually farming off of those spray fields?
hey,
Orchard grass.
Okay, and what are you using with that orchard grass? Where is it
That
going?
goes down to, it's either animal feed or it goes down to the mushroom farms.
But there's also been Maximonks have grown. They've grown sunflowers on there
So
for bird
with
seed.
drip
they've grown-
irrigation, that has also been used for agriculture, and you can run tractors over those kind of things. You can also have those types of depths.
When you do drip irrigation with wastewater, you have to bury the tube 6 inches below.
Yes.
And you
And
can't
they
farm.
are 12 inches
Yes.
spaced.
You know what they do in Iowa and everywhere else when they're irrigating their fields? That's what.
They go out and actually roll the drip tubes out, and then they roll them back in.
No, they don't. My father was a farmer, Joe Tejic, that was right there.
But he's.
I have family, friends.
but
in
farming
Iowa.
is different than.
He has knowledge about agriculture.
But what I'm looking at is what our regulations are for the state. We go down 6 inches,
Okay.
spaced on 12 inches, is spaced 12 inches apart. To take a plow through that, to take something
You
like
don't
this,
need to plow, you use no-till.
if you do no-till,
You
you
shouldn't be
still,
plowing,
if
because
you
when you
still,
go ahead and plow, you're causing all types of soil
So-
erosion.
so do they-
Moved away from that 40 years ago.
so they do no-till, right? They do
Yeah, they do no-till now.
You do no-till now,
Yes.
but you're still you do take an aerator through the fields, don't you?
What are you talking about?
Basically aerating the soil.
No.
You don't-
No, you
The whole
spray-
point is
you
if
spray
go
weed
ahead and
killer.
aerate the soil too much,
That's how you
turning
do
it
no-till.
over,
We're not
you're
turning it
losing
over.
all the nutrients.
Basically, what you're doing is going down and doing
Yes,
holes that
like,
you're doing.
like 2 inches or so.
I'll have to get our agronomist.
So I think this is something that should be looked at, because it could ameliorate a lot of other people's concerns.
We will. Okay, next one.
And not having any impact on the air, because we're not even testing.
Now you remember, as a fellow farmer, what do you spray on the ground before you do no-till?
Well, it depends what kind of
Roundup.
farming you're
You
doing.
spray Roundup on the ground, you kill all the weeds, and then you go in and you plug it. So
Not with organic farming. No way.
yeah,
Axelox just did it.
yeah, that's how usually no-till works. Now Sean, it's Sean's time to speak.
Okay.
Sean,
Is
you
this
can
Bill's-
come
it's his
Who
turn.
wrote the blast that came out tonight?
The blast. Oh, the information on the township? Yeah.
Exactly, yes.
The-
Who?
The lawyers. The lawyer wrote it.
Oh.
The manager. So what's the matter? What's the problem? What is?
I wrote some of it. We had
Okay.
we had input
Yeah.
of
Wastewater.
the solicitor
engineer
and
wrote
the
something.
engineer.
My original intentions were to preserve this farm.
That's what we thought.
Yes. On a two acre building envelope. Got that to 2.5 acres through negotiations, talking to you at the post office, got that to 2.5 acres. For it to make sense to me, I needed another building envelope, another building lot.
Speak up. I mean, so these folks can hear.
I needed another building lot to make sense for me, financial sense. Then all the talk stopped. Then they said they wanted to buy the property from me. The township wanted to buy the property from me. I had the property listed for $2,675,000. $2,675,000. Had an offer for $2,450,000. You gonna disagree with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
I disagree with the fact that you said all the talk stopped. All the talk.
When was our last conversation?
Yeah. Our last
October?
Our last conversation.
October?
Our last conversation was that you wanted to take 11 acres off of the 45.8. This was our last conversation, and lop it on to the 14. Who lives on the open space from? And lop it onto that so you could.
Lop it means take off, not put on.
I have the emails from you, and we said no, you're not gonna do that and build on what's already open space to the people who live there and know that. So
I
don't
never
say all
intended
this-
to build onto
and you
14
got an
acres.
answer
I
that
wanted
said,
to
"No,
make
we're
that
not doing
usable. Usable.
Did Zavetta walk away from your deal?
Zavetta never walked away from any deal.
Okay.
So why do you pay me $1,420,000 for a property I had an agreement of sale for $2,450,000? Now we'll talk to the genius over here, the fucking genius.
Sean, can you respect your neighbors around you? I mean, come on.
They all know that word. And they all know what I've been put through for the past 2 fucking months.
Stop it. Stop using that language here. That's offensive.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, Sean, I don't know how you think it went from 1.275 to $2.5 million, but
Read the MLS listing where it says $2.675 million.
with a house on it.
Well, no, that's $10 million with a house on it.
Okay.
Did you ever look at the stuff I've sent you?
I saw all the stuff.
Okay. Who came up with that 2.475 or whatever it is?
The the multiple listing. It was
Yes.
listed.
Did you read the listing?
It was
Paul, I sent you that listing. Did you read it? Did you read the highlighted? 30 acres. 30 acres, not 45.8 acres. I'm a real estate agent. I know how to make things work. If I have 60 acres, I can sell 30 acres and 30 acres. Paul, you saw the letter I sent you.
I read everything that you and your wife sent me. Of course I
What
did.
do you disagree with?
I read everything you and your wife
It was
sent
40.
me.
It was 40 some acres for 1.275. That's what it was. I have the copy.
Did you read the listing where it says the description and the remarks? 30 acres. I highlighted it. Paul has it. I asked him to share it with you. Did you share it with him, Paul?
I got your email, I read your email, I shared your emails, so.
So you shared it with Paul. You shared it with
Yes.
John.
Yes.
John, did you see the highlighted where it says 30 acres?
No, I didn't see that.
Craig.
This is 1.275. I'm looking at it.
Like what we can say or not say, just wanna make sure we're understanding us.
Sean's represented by a lawyer, so I'm not engaging with him the correct way of saying, because he's got counsel, and it would be inappropriate for me to talk with him while he's got a lawyer.
Yeah, the listing.
Yeah, well, yeah.
The listing I have says 1.275 for 40 some acres. That's the listing.
45.8. I'm looking at it.
Did you see what Paul sent you? Did you see what I sent Paul?
It doesn't.
It does matter because I don't pay $1.7 million for a property I'm going to sell for 1.275. Who would do that?
We
You
didn't
didn't
pay one.
You think you paid Georgie Cole $1.7 million for that property?
In the end, I paid more than that. You pay taxes and everything else. Yes, I paid 1.150 plus 495,000. What is that? Add it up. And then put the 1% transfer tax. Put all that shit on there. Sorry.
And the 400, what was it? 495?
495.
You bought a piece of eased property. You bought a piece of property that can't be built on, that some of the people in this audience
Live in that neighborhood.
consider their open space from their development.
I never wanted that to be anything other than open space. I had to buy that to buy the 45.8 acres. It was a part of the agreement. Nobody listens down here. Nobody talks. Nobody says, Sean, what's up? Let's sit down. Let's talk about this.
Well, we sat down with you
Keep
and
smiling.
talked about it.
Keep
And all
smiling.
the taxpayers in this room paid for discussions here with our council
Appraisals.
and your council,
Appraisals.
and you agreed on the price per acre to preserve the 45.8 acres in those discussions that we're all of us here are paying for. And then he goes and writes the easements and the agreement of sale for that, and you send an email that says, my friends are telling me that's a bad deal. I shouldn't take the deal.
What's
Why
the
didn't you
deal?
say that
What's the deal?
before we
Say
paid
the deal. Don't
council?
just talk in platitudes. Don't talk in platitudes.
No, I'm not talking
Tell me the
platitudes.
deal.
I've got an email from you that says that. I mean, we spent taxpayer money to get our legal counsel to do what you agreed upon verbally,
More than
like
once.
every other parcel I've preserved in this township. Because we don't spend the money on that unless we have an
I
agreement.
wanted to preserve the property.
No.
You
wanted-
sent me 5-acre building envelope of building an additional lot.
and you
I
wanted more.
I accepted that, but
You
I
didn't.
wanted
Okay,
a larger
that's enough.
portion.
You did not.
Hindsight.
You did not.
Well, the emails say it all.
Yeah, I know. I've got them.
Yeah,
And texts and everything else.
yeah.
Okay, well, your lawyer can call Craig's lawyer, but that's not the way we remember it.
Yeah. All right. I just want to set the record straight. That property was listed for $2,675,000.
Okay. And the 10 million, it was going to be $10 million for the house on it.
That was a separate listing. And if you read the listing that I sent to Paul, did it say 30 acres?
I'll have to look at
Did I highlight 30 acres and send that to you?
I didn't see that listing.
The
The
one-
listing
the
we
one-
ordered
okay.
the appraisal on is
Yeah.
1.275, 48.8 acres.
I can verify when
45.8.
we saw
Okay.
the for sale go
So,
up, I live across
yeah.
the street, we looked it up and looked it up and it was the $2 million price for that, and then 10 million with the house, but we
Yeah.
went through everything, so
I
I put it in my head.
well. We
Yeah,
did
yeah.
also.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it initially was for.
You can do your smoke and mirrors all you want. I'm out of
I
here.
don't know what's going on, but I'll pull it. He lives down the road from me. And reason I was able to speak to Richie and complain about the road is when he put that up for sale, he's 100% right. Okay, I don't know what your listing you're talking about. He had it on there for 2675. Okay, and if you want some rich guy who's going to come from Manhattan want to put up, as you refer to as a McMansion, he had some builder who was going to put up this big glass fancy house. I came because I have a son who's coming back from Florida, and I'm a neighbor, and I went in and I spoke to Richie. He gave me all this double talk with this, with that, blah, blah, blah. He couldn't say much about it. But he did have that property listed, and supposedly it was for sale, and somebody bought it. Okay, and then the sign came off. It was said sold or pending, whatever, and then it came off. But it's there, and it could be pulled up somewhere. He had that listed for that price.
It was Rich Zavetta, and then when Rich saw that part of the property was preserved, he
right, the 14 acres. That's why I said what's going on with the 14 acres. But if it wasn't put in preservation, which supposedly he was supposed to do, and I don't know him personally, if it was going to be put in preservation, the biggest project that they could put up was, I think, 6 houses. These 6 houses probably would have been $3 to $5 to $6, $7 million houses, like they're building these monsters on Stover's Mill Road. Now, what this young lady says is 100% right, because you know something? We all live in a beautiful area, and I'm also a former New Yorker, and I escaped. First to Newtown, then to here. But, you know what? If they put up 5, 6, $7 million houses on 6-acre lots, would you people be upset?
Yeah, but that's not.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say is, I don't know what goes on in this town, but you know what this gentleman said about that corner property when it was for sale with the 16 acres that you said something about? And I spoke to my broker about subdivision, if he bought that house, we did something else. And he advised me, and you all know him, he's been a broker in this area for 40 years, and he said to me, Buckingham, are you crazy? So, you know what's something about this? This is a great place to live because you guys are tough, tougher than any other part of Bucks County. But now, I don't know what went on with you between you and McCardle and Cole. I mean, this is the good old boys club because these families been here forever. I'm a newcomer. But I ask a lot of questions and I do my homework. So I don't know what went on between you and him and this and that, but again, if you told everybody here that we're going to have 5 or 6 big houses, okay? Not everything is a McMansion.
Yeah, but he couldn't have put
right?
that many on.
I know you're trying to control this place, but by doing this and putting this up with these spray fields, I don't think you're making people happier. Okay, so I don't know what the behind the scenes are. I'm not a lawyer, thank God. Okay, because this is what causes a lot of issues. But I spoke to Richie twice, and I brought in the ad because he had 2 different listings, and it's in black and white, and I'm sure it could be pulled up. But that's what the property was listed for. And as far as Zavetta goes, yeah, Zavetta wants big property, so he put up, he won't touch anything less than $5-10 million now. So whatever happened between you guys and McCardle and Zavetta, whatever it is, we're never going to know. But, where I live, maybe it won't be affected by these spray fields. But this lady, these people over here, those couple of houses that are in that little chunk that faces that, they should hire lawyers and demand that you buy those properties from them. Because that's serious stuff. That's serious stuff.
That they're worth now before you put the spray fields in.
There's already spray fields there.
But not around us. We moved here to Buckingham because it's beautiful and we love the area. And
Correct. It's because of years of what we've been doing. That's right. We all love it. That's the reason why it's like this is because residents and the government and the staff. That's what I mean by the government, the staff. That's why we love it. And so someone's always going to be upset about everything, but you have to look at the good of the community and the best way possible, the neighbors too. I get it. John's a lifelong resident. He grew up here.
And Maggie's responsible for probably preserving over half of the 6,000 acres that we have in Buckingham.
We came here tonight in good
Look at
faith.
that, you're by poison in there.
Linda Flammer, 5805 Mechanicsville Road, right across the street from the spray fields, proposed spray fields. We came here in good faith to talk to you about our concerns with the hope that you would work with us. And what we have gotten is platitudes and pushback and implications and things that are saying things like we've misrepresented the facts. I'd like to know what facts you think we misrepresented, for one. I was accused of that. And I would also like to know, going forward, is there any possibility that you would work with your constituents who are voters in creating this development plan so that you're not upsetting all of these community members?
Yes, Dana just said that she's going to have the adjacent property owner involved in.
One adjacent property owner?
Owners.
Owners?
Owners.
What about the Soulberry folks that are across the street in the different?
Yeah, it gets designed by the professionals. That's who designed it.
Yes, yes. We would like to also have professionals representing our needs and work together.
Okay.
We want power with and not power over.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Mike's gonna tie this up.
Okay.
Okay, Mike.
Mike, finish it up for us.
I mean,
Okay. Man in the gray suit. Gray, I'm sorry, shirt.
That's all right. Andrew Yaros, 3155 Antler Drive in Hunter's Run. We're not directly across the street, but I do have concerns. I don't know the logistics of how these are built. You gave us a lot of information tonight. I've seen the one on 413. I've seen the one off of, what is it, Cold Spring Creamy farther up, before 413 on the left. My concern is when they are spraying is the mist that comes off of this. I know the winds that come across from Maximux, across Mechanics.
You know what? It's on. I know your farm, and I know has it been preserved. I know they're trying to preserve it. So I really appreciate your input, but let's let this guy speak. Sorry.
That's right.
Sorry to call you Guy. And
That's right.
You never got your turn, the lady in the white.
So my concern is the airborne particles when they are actually doing spraying, because we've got a lot of open area. This is open area, and coming across the winds right now in our area are predominantly from, I would say, Maximux through across Mechanicsville and into Hunter's Run. If that's west, from the west, I'm not sure. But anyway, the other question I had is, where is all this wastewater coming from? We're all well owners and septic systems and
It's the
Your Cold Spring neighbors.
Cold Spring, so like Fenton Corner.
Also Stony Mead.
Stony Mead.
And people that live on, across. the
Yeah,
street
across
need to hook
Stony
up
Mead,
because all
right
the
behind you
septic
guys.
systems are bad. All the
And
people
a
that live on
couple
Indian
people
Spring
in
because
Indian
their septic
Spring
systems are
and
bad.
So my
Most of your neighbors.
okay, okay, that's fine. You answered my question.
So
The question,
yeah, you know the neighborhood. It's what's the name of Stony Mead Street back there? Yeah, Stony. It's the whole Stony Mead neighborhood, which
Okay.
is off of Indian Spring.
Okay,
And Indian Spring neighbors and.
some Indian
and
Spring.
beyond that.
you're right.
Bittersweet. Yeah.
Those are the closest.
So my second question to that point is that I've heard that this spray field is to help alleviate the stress on the other spray fields.
So we can farm the other spray fields more.
It's for better management.
Okay, like you've got to turn them off, so you've got somewhere else to turn it on to get rid of the water. I understand that. Is hay the only thing that you can farm on these fields?
No. Corn, sunflowers. I mean, there's a number of things.
Soybeans.
You test the soil to see what the soil needs, and then you put a crop on there. You can add stuff to the soil, take stuff away from the soil.
Okay.
I mean, if you
So
go
the ones
down-
I've seen have been predominantly or nothing but hay.
Yeah,
I can see
but
from the road
there's
anyway.
corn down behind Nunsuch.
Okay.
Cattle corn, not people corn.
Right. And what's this property going to look like once this is developed? Is it just going to be a hayfield?
It'll look
with
like the property next to the district court, across from Cold Spring Creamery Road.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
Cold Spring
without-
Elementary.
I mean, Cold Spring Creamery Elementary.
Yeah, Cold
Okay.
Springs Elementary.
Except there won't be a large lagoon.
The no
Oh,
lagoon.
no lagoon.
And just out of, I don't know, again, I don't know how they're built, but how many nozzles per square feet do they cover?
Normally, what we try to do is have a 40-foot radius for a nozzle.
So there's a nozzle every 80 feet?
About 80 feet, yeah.
Okay. And how high are they?
3'6".
And my last question goes back to the spray and mist. Is there a way to regulate that nozzle so it's more of like a moderate rain or a heavier rain than it is a mist for when it is windy?
When it's windy, if it's over 25 miles an hour wind, our spray fields shut down. We can't spray when there's high winds there.
Well, what about a moderate wind? I mean, if it's a misting spray, we're going to get it. And the last question I have is the water that you've been talking about is highly treated and so forth and so on. I'm sure it's not bacteria free. So if this mist is coming across and landing on plants and crops and
it is bacteria free.
This?
No, not true.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We disinfect all of our wastewater.
Okay. That's all I had. That was the questions I had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know what, hang on 1 second. This lady in the white, yeah.
I just have one question. Can they put up like a row of arborvitaes to kind of contain the spray mist?
A buffer.
We can do buffer, yeah. And that was one thing we certainly wanted to talk to the neighbors.
Give Mary Jane your name.
Oh, Karen Matija, at 5901 County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Celeste Callahan, 3384.
Someone speaking.
Just respect our neighbors.
Celeste Callahan, 3384 Street Road. If your plan,
Please just respect your neighbors.
if your plan goes through as you plan it now, our home, which we've been there for 26 years, built in 1769, will be completely surrounded on 3 sides by a spray field. Please tell me who, when we're too old to live there, who is going to buy my house? Who's going to want to live in that particular location?
Are you the old farmhouse?
Yes, we are.
With all the apartments in the barn?
No, I have no apartments.
There's another farmhouse?
No, yeah, that's the house down the street.
Yeah, that's
on the
down
other.
the street.
No,
Yeah,
no, it's
but-
just
yeah,
us
now it's-
and our stuff. So I put that question out to you. Obviously, we're concerned about the well water. We live with someone with compromised immune system. Why do I want to be surrounded by this? And where am I going to go? You know, that I have to tell somebody who might even like my house to say, guess what? In 2 years, there's probably going to be spray field around here. Yeah, I have to disclose it.
Good job.
Is there any compensation for drop property values?
There hasn't been so far, because there hasn't been a need
No drop.
for that.
Would that be considered?
What, no, and what we have found just being here, while a lot of our spray fields were developed and houses, many of the houses paid a premium lot to be next to the spray field.
For the open space.
They were sold as premiums. They just were.
Yep.
Not
And it's
excuse me, but
Toll
they,
Brothers.
yeah, Toll Brothers.
Toll Brothers charged extra money.
Charged
To move
extra money to be next to it because it's a permanent open space that will not be built upon.
We need to see the data on that.
Buy it, buy it.
I borrowed from 5447 Harpersville Road. I live blocks down from the one at Old Spring Creamery, South Elementary. I smell nothing, and to be honest, when we were looking at real estate, we came from Upper Wakefield, a sizable thing. We enjoyed the fact that there was a nice open field on the corner.
the other side and you say, oh wait, we're not gonna have one here, but it's okay to have for everybody else in the community. So are you opening up the web so we're not gonna have spray field anywhere? You know, and do that, and if that's bad, I mean, this is kind of a Pandora's box, and I would just like everyone to look at it from a community standpoint.
Hey, let everybody get a chance to speak. Respect her, please.
I cannot hear this woman, and I don't know her, and I want to hear her. You already have. Yeah, well, you know what? Come up to the microphone.
No, I mean, if you want to.
What? It's a shame.
Don't talk to me.
You chose it. You chose it.
I did, but you can't.
Okay,
But
you did.
yeah, but
Did you
this is not a conversation.
But did
between
you
you
choose
guys.
to live-
Take it out to the
Public
parking lot. Go
Did you
ahead.
choose to live in a place?
Ma'am, Barbara, it's your public comment. It's your public comment.
Yeah, I just wish everyone would kind of look at it, take a step back. I know it's right. Some of you guys, it's in your area. You're not used to it, but look at the ones that have existed and kind of the people who are already there who have this. You're not really, well, I don't want to say you're not, because I get your point, but you're kind of devaluing everybody else in your community who is living with these. And we start talking about global warming and all that kind of stuff with the heavier rains. There's scientific reasons why you have to handle the water that we already have. So you kind of want your cake and eat it too. You want to live here and have the open space and have it beautiful, but you're also part of a community. So I just wish everyone would consider the big picture for who lives here and would a spray field rather than some other houses or whatever it's going to be. Excuse me? Do you?
You want? Okay, that's fine. You want the house?
Yeah, but I mean, there are other perspectives, and I wish you guys would consider the people who already live by spray fields and talk to them of what they.
Barbara, go ahead.
Yeah, but we did. We did. I'm just saying that no one can predict the future. No, and so that's my point. I just wish people would value other things.
Especially it looks beautiful when they do sunflowers.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
And if we have this big of a concern, why is it right across the street from a school and no one's complained up until this point? Until it starts affecting some people's property values or where they're going to live.
Yeah, but it has.
It has. That's my point. It has not until today. So
okay,
thank you,
we
Barbara.
have to start our meeting, but Mike, step up. Now, Mike ran for supervisor last election cycle, and he actually used the spray field for his house wastewater.
I live in Hartstone.
Hartstone, that's spray field.
Where do you think?
Yeah.
I'm just
No,
saying that
no.
you've been doing things a certain
Come
way
on.
for years.
Finish.
Go
Try to
ahead.
do it a better way that could please everyone's concerns.
It was installed in the 80s, but the technology
No,
continuously
no, I'm
changes.
talking about like drip irrigation or other alternatives that can achieve the same.
Yeah, and you said it, and we
said
said
it.
it's up.
And
I saw them shake their
we
heads.
can do
and
it in
say
the woods.
something.
Yeah, we can do it in the woods.
So
In the woods.
the next
Gary.
person speaking.
In the woods.
Okay? All right.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Mike.
Mike. Because Mike, we got to start the meeting.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike Bateman, Tall Oak Court. I'd like to address a form email that was sent out earlier today by our township manager, Dana Cosa. Over the last several days, Dana has received dozens of emails from concerned residents asking to please find an alternative venue due to the large expected crowd at the Planning Commission meeting next week, where the warehouse is expected to be on the agenda. Dana ultimately denied the request for the following reasons. First, residents rely on the meeting being held at the Township building. Well, if you've been to any of our Planning Commission meetings, there's usually only a handful of residents at these meetings, and special meetings require special treatment. So we're facing one of the most unpopular projects in the Township in decades right now, and many people are concerned, and the Township manager is actively trying to choose to keep them out. In addition, it's
but
clear.
Mike, it's not the township manager comes to the board.
So the board didn't want the change of venue then. So this board voted.
Yeah, we've had very controversial meetings here for
21 years.
Yeah, foliage mulching operation. Their industrial operation down there. When the airport expansion was coming
My first
through.
public meeting.
Yeah, when the airport expansion was coming through, probably 20 years ago. That was a really
Okay, so this board is not interested in letting people into this building. There's
No, we
200.
are, but we're not going to change the meeting to CB East or Buckingham Elementary and have people show up here and not know that it's changed.
John, there's 4 people that show up to these meetings normally, and I think it's probably pretty obvious that our group can really control as to the
You
messaging
can
getting
bring
out.
as many people as you want from out of Buckingham, and I'm sure you're going to fill up this room.
It's going to be more than fill up the room. People are bringing camping chairs because they don't know where to sit.
That's good.
Right? There's going to be people at this door. There are people in the hallway.
But Mike, the warehouse has a lot of, there's a lot of Plumstead residents that come.
Yeah.
And really, this venue, just like Plumstead is for their residents, is for our residents. Anybody can talk to us outside of that. That's why, I mean, we had a discussion about
We
neighbor
did.
to neighbor being able to talk to each other.
Sure.
Than any other public position. Which, and if you know us, you know any of my neighbors can always talk to me, like Mr. McCardle did. And so, when you have a lot of people from other townships coming in, it's not fair to our residents. That's just to your point. Just to your point.
Anyway,
Right. The point
So
is
this
that
project-
there are empty seats. Everybody needs to sit with even people.
Maggie,
that
you weren't
don't
at the
know.
meeting. I don't know if you watched the
You know
live
what?
stream
We're
of
not
it.
changing the venue.
Yeah, we watched
Okay?
it. It was
So
Okay? Dana got like,
Yeah.
what, 25 emails? And you responded to each person?
you didn't respond to mine, but that's okay.
Well, not
Because you had already stopped me when I was leaving work the other day, and we talked, and I gave you all the reasons. That's why I didn't email
So you also stated the township meeting room had open seats. It did not. We know exactly what this room can accommodate because we've had standing room only crowds in here twice in the past 2 months. So we know exactly what this room can accommodate and what it can. And then you also stated that residents don't want to use tax dollars to change the venue. So that's fine. We'll pay for it. So send us the bill. Buckingham, East, Hollicong, we've raised community money from all over the place. If you don't want Plumstead residents here, that's fine. They'll show up somewhere else. Send us the bill and we'll take care of it if that's the issue.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, anyone
Anybody
else?
else
Now we have to
before
start.
we're going back to our meeting agenda?
Okay.
Are you all staying?
What's the matter, man?
Quietly?
Man,
Is he okay? He's holding his chest.
Oh.
Right next to
yeah,
him.
he's fine. You okay, Paul?
I just had a little pain.
Okay. Thank you.
You know what? I'm gonna get some water. We're gonna take a 5-minute break.
All right, while you clear, we're going to take a 5-minute break.
I don't think he is. We're gonna do some. I'm gonna get the. I'm gonna go get the.
Jerry and I did this before. Figure this is what we're running. Oh, did you really? Jerry and I actually done this game before. Yeah, oh yeah. Planning. We had to say they got You come for this or something? No. Oh, yeah.
So it's 17 feet there. And you got to say, to your point, land is still on the bottom. So we still look like pedestrians. There's that old stone wall. Oh, yeah. You know, as you make a left, you go north. So they'll come back and their first thing. And it's only that's so our case is if you're gonna build something, there's plenty you can build. You got an office building with a spray Let's do the flip flop. I was laughing. I was thinking maybe we'll have to At least we're out of there 4 in the morning. No, we'd be out of there 4 in the morning. Hey, good seeing you. Good luck. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Okay. The problem with Paul is how open heart right? So I think he just has some kind of indigestion. So Okay, we're gonna wrap up here.
Yes. Sure, you don't want to keep public input open a little bit more?
Oh, I'm the vice chair. I'm calling this meeting to order.
Okay.
We are back in session.
Ready?
What happens when you're the vice chair? Let's find out where we
Okay,
are.
so Maggie, we went through all the announcements.
Yeah, the announcements are done.
Number 3.
Okay.
Want me to do it?
Numbers, board's announcements, we have none. I think we've announced.
We announced everything.
Yeah. Okay, number 3.
I move that we
I
consider.
move-
Oh, you got it. You got it. You got it.
I move that we approve payment number 10 to GS Developers for work completed on the water company generator upgrades, contract BP 2201, in the amount of $22,700. I'm going to do B with it. And approve payment number 15 to GS Developers for work completed on the Cold Spring wastewater system upgrades in the amount of $15,000. I need a second. Electrical contract. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number C, I move that we approve the payroll for March 20, dated March 28, 2024, and April 11, 2024, and the bill list for the meeting of April 24th, 2024.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, I move that we approve the draft supervisor minutes of the March 27th work session and the March 27th regular business meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 5, I move that we accept for inclusion in the township records, various departmental and advisory body minutes, the Environmental Advisory Committee, January 17th, 2024, and February 21st, 2024, and the Building and Zoning Monthly Stats, March 2024, sorry.
Second.
Questions, comments? My comment is, all this stuff is on the website. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 6, I move that we approve resolution. I move that we approve resolution 2623, appointing the chief of police.
Second.
Awesome.
And so we hired Dave Scarrato from. He's presently in Upper Moreland. Lower Moreland. Police chief in Lower Moreland. We went through an exhaustive search, narrowed it down to about 5 people, and he was one of the guys that seemed to have the most experience. He's also he trains other police chiefs through the Bucks County Training Center, and is just really into a lot of training.
Yeah. Yeah.
David Scarrato, and he will be sworn in at the May 15th board meeting, which is the next board meeting.
Yeah, so he is currently his manager is not in Lower Moreland? Upper Moreland.
Lower
Moreland. It took some time off, so he's acting as the manager and the police chief.
He's not doing that too.
Well, he
could,
he's
not. But they asked him to stay longer.
Yeah.
That's why our timing is a little off.
And
But
then-
we wanted to make sure we.
And then he has a graduation he has to attend in Texas, so he'll be coming in May.
Yeah,
So-
and I'll just add that our first hit was 10 people that came in and interviewed, and Dave was he was the last person that came in and interviewed, and we were all, well, this guy has got it going on. He would be fantastic in Buckingham, and then the company that we had hired to organize the search brought in five candidates, Dave being one of them, and it was just, we had good candidates, those 5 candidates, all with different strength, but Dave really, he blew me away. I just think he's going to be wonderful here. So,
Yeah, he's gonna, the guys are gonna like him.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I ask you a question on that? Sorry. Is there any The acting chief, is he planning to stay and go back to his old position, or is that position?
No, we don't have an acting chief.
Our lieutenant
has been
is filling in as our acting chief.
Right.
He does have plans to retire in 2.5 years.
He's on drop.
He's in the drop program, so he has his retirement scheduled. So he will be in the lieutenant's position and help our new police chief get started.
Great, so that won't be a vacancy.
No.
No.
He's fine going back down. Cool. That's all. Thank you.
Did
Well,
you
he's
ever,
not going
Chris?
back
Did you ever?
down.
No, he's not. He's not. He's really. He's acting.
He's lieutenant.
He's
Yeah,
not.
I got you.
He's not.
Right.
It doesn't say he's acting. He's still a lieutenant. He's
Sure.
just the highest
I
ranking
got you.
person we have. Did you ever deal with Scarrato
I did.
while you were a Ben Salem detective?
Yeah.
As for training or?
For training, and we worked with him a few times.
Okay.
Nothing but good things to say.
Yeah, I mean, he's close, which would be great because he's got younger kids. But he was also looking. Lower Marion wanted him, which is a really big department. I think he's just trying to slow down a little bit for his last 10 years. So.
He just wanted to come here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I know. Well,
Okay.
and he lives in
And he lives in
Warminster,
Warrington.
so it's not like
Lower
he's,
Marion.
you know.
No, I'm saying I was there. I was here from there, so
But you
definitely next year.
So that's so exciting. Yeah.
Okay.
After all this, it makes me.
We got that.
Okay, number 7, manager's items. I'm gonna go through these, Dana.
Yeah.
Yes, that'd be
Okay. I move that we approve the request submitted by Andrea Farino on behalf of Abby's Bakery TNT Scholarship Fund to waive the $100 park usage fee set by Resolution 2618 for use of George M. Bush Park for a Play for Abby volleyball tournament to be held on May 18th, 2024.
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
And the next one, I move that we approve the request submitted by C. Cloud, C-I-E? Stroud,
C.
on
Stroud.
behalf of the Anchor House Foundation to waive the $100 park usage fee set by resolution also 2618 for the use of Hansel Park for a ride for runaways to be held on July 20th, 24.
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I move that we award the 2024 road improvement project bid to James D. Morrissey, Inc. of Philadelphia in the amount of $707,161.90.
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
The next is really an announcement. The Board of Supervisors, this meeting, will have a regular business meeting on May 15th, Wednesday, May 15th at 7:30 p.m., which will include the official swearing-in ceremony for the new chief of police. And that will be our main meeting. That's the end of the agenda, I think.
It should be early.
Yeah. Yes, and we'll be canceling May
22nd.
22nd.
22nd. 7.
Okay. So I move we close this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.